Okay, are we live? Ooh, I have really bad internet, so I hope we're live. There we go. Please work properly. Okay. We live. Just no one else is. I probably should have joined a Discord call before it became the time. Where's it? Where's the podcasting call? There it is. Okay. And now I am going to begin. Unfortunately, I no longer have Photoshop, so I just used an existing image. So I don't even know if Bun Bun's going to show up, but you know what? Whatever. Okay. Welcome, Wasteland, to the 6th episode of the tragic train wreck that is the Rad Meter podcast. I hope we, are live. I'm in a place that has really bad internet, so we'll see how long this lasts. Yeah, let me just quickly share out that we are live. And, yeah, so some Twitter, and retweet it on my main account that isn't Nuclear Horseman Studios, and then share it again in Discord. There's a lot of places to share this. Okay, and then special broadcast. Okay. One more place I want to send this. Okay. Live stream megaphone. There we go. Hello. Hello?
We are?
Is that Bunny? Is that Chalkfee?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. You said we're live. I didn't realize.
Well, I let you guys know that we were doing the podcast. I let you guys know that we were doing the podcast. I hope the podcast can hear you.
I didn't realize there were more than one people in this call.
I like to talk about myself as the royal we.
Have high hopes, huh?
No, it's just whenever I'm talking as the collective of people that is Nuclear Horseman Studios, I always use we, even if it's just me.
We are the CEO.
Well, I mean, we're not technically incorporated, so I'm really just...
Why not? I wouldn't actually say incorporated is the best idea, but like an LC, limited thingy.
Okay, wait, hold on. I need to make sure that you're actually being heard. Hold on. I'm gonna unmute the broadcast that I'm watching. Just so my mouse will stop messing up. Being heard. Hold on. I'm gonna unmute the broadcast that I'm watching. Just so
What laptop should I use today?
mouse will stop messing up. Being heard. Hold on. I'm gonna unmute the broadcast that I'm watching. Just so
What laptop should I use today?
mouse will stop messing up. Being heard. Hold on. I'm gonna unmute. Wow. Okay, that's just gonna repeat itself for a few minutes because it's recording the computer audio. So when I played the audio, it started going on repeat. But yes, we do hear Bun Bun. Okay, good.
Yay, Bun Bun.
And so I believe in the audience currently we have our well, not our first Patreon, but the first person to get the top tier Patreon reward. I believe so.
Third patron.
Our third patron overall, yes. Which we finally did the official launch of our patron. It was funny because the last Rad Meter
about
podcast,
several months after it actually went up.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. The last Rad Meter podcast was done shortly after the, quote, soft launch of our Patreon, which basically just means I hit the wrong button and it went live, and I'm like, well, fuck.
You're silly.
That's really all that it amounted to. It's like, oh, okay, I guess this is live now. We don't have a video for it yet.
How long did that take again?
Almost like a half a year.
And how long after that last podcast did we get our first patron?
Actually, I think
it didn't take very long.
I think Dice was. I think it was even before the podcast happened. Oh yeah, so once we released the video, we got our second Patreon, and it was someone from our now who has partnered with Nuclear Horseman Studios, Dead Tree Studios, who apparently have been trying to contact me for like a year.
You know, they could have just talked to me. I'm in their chat.
It's funny. We realized afterwards that there was many avenues to try to contact me. They could have gone through. They could have gone through.
Actually, several people were working.
They could have gone through Cinder. They could have gone through you. But apparently, I didn't realize I was this unapproachable. I've existed since I joined the Brony fandom in the Bernalysis community, and it seems like everybody knows everybody in that community. And
I don't know everybody.
So I'm like, I'm easy to contact. I know all these quote horse famous people, but apparently,
to be fair, you were the first person I ever met in that community. Just randomly. It was a weird.
I think you connected with me over actually, oddly enough, over Fallout Equestria.
It was in the Fallout Equestria chat, and I was like, oh, hi, I've watched your videos. And then about a month later, I'm like, oh, I lied. I've never actually watched your videos. I've just seen you in other people's videos. I don't think I have ever watched your videos.
And it's weird nowadays. If someone randomly messages me, I'm like, how do I know you? What Discord server, Skype group, or whatever are you part of? Because I only really connect with people now to do YouTube stuff. I barely am online otherwise. So it's funny, if you had contacted me closer to now, I probably wouldn't have.
To be fair, no, I met you first in the chat, in the Fallout Equestria chat. And then I was like, oh, hey. A second later. Ooh, that's pretty.
Okay, well, so in an effort to be more approachable in the Fallout Equestria part of the fandom, Nuclear Horseman Studios has opened a public Discord, as opposed to the private one that is for production/Patreon. Which I don't have a link in the description just yet. Let me grab a link so it'll be in the description from now on. Rivals and Departures, create invite. No, I have an invite link already created for that one. Travel visa application. There we go. Because I themed the Discord, the public Discord to it's like it's the Applewood Wasteland Bureau of Tourism, because In case you're unaware,
Because you're very, very, very extra.
no, but in case you're
That is the
unaware,
reason, though.
it's now in the description. I don't know when the page will update, but public what? Public Discord. Discord. There we go.
Discord.
Basically, as you may not know, Nuka Horseman Studios in canon is in Applewood, Equestria, which in the ruins of the Warmer Mare ruins. Well, I said ruins twice. Whatever. Which is basically Warner Brothers Studios, but post-apocalyptic and... what was that?
Bulbasaur walking.
But anyways, so basically I was like, how can I theme this this Discord server? I'm like, oh, we'll make it like everyone's visiting Applewood, and apparently even in post-apocalyptia they have some kind of Bureau of Tourism, because that made sense in my head.
It doesn't, though.
I want all out with the theming of that. There's like arrivals and departures. There's the rules and regulations, frequently asked questions, further questions. Like even the public Discord invite link is in a special chat called a travel visa application.
Yeah, and how does that all work out for you?
I don't know. I was just having fun. But so yeah, there should be a link to that in the description if you want to talk to us in a more open format, and such. And people who are Patreons get a special role in that server, Applewood residents, versus just regular Wastelanders. Yeah, apparently the person who, our third Patreon who's hanging out as one of the two people in the in the chat currently, is at a place called Applewood Center. What are the odds?
Pretty generous.
Sorry, Cloud. I forgot his name for a second, even though he said it several times. I'm tempted to say his YouTube username, but it's different than the username that he goes by for stuff. It's weird. Anyways, our Patreon launched, which there also should be a link in the description to that, officially, and also debuted the Voice of Megaspell, which Starry Flame, shout out to her. She's probably sleeping right now because I think she lives all the way in like Australia. Which so does DCP, and he's hanging out there in the chat. So I mean, I guess
are people gonna actually join the call, or
I don't know.
Is it just gonna be me?
It's just gonna be you.
Damn it.
But anyways, shout out to Starry Flame for being the voice of Megaspell. Which, when we were going over voices and like trying to figure it out, because I didn't really know what I wanted Megaspell to sound like. Like,
yeah, tell me about it.
I knew the voice effect I was gonna put on it, which is like a chorus. So it's basically the same lines being said at like slightly different pitches, so it kind of meshes together in a weird ethereal kind of sense. Basically, so we went through a few different things. Like first one, like Derpy, but if she was a heavy smoker, or but then we settled on a voice that I liked, which and her in the recording, she kind of, it dawned on her that it was basically like more of a teenage Scootaloo, but kind of has like a, I don't want to say Brooklyn accent. And then I just tossed the a couple of voice effects on it to make it sound more ethereal. And the voice of Megaspell was born.
You're born.
I mean, everyone was born at some point.
Hmm.
And okay, so according to DCP, Hollywood became a boneyard in actual lore. I'm guessing in the Fallout lore. FOE, a similar event would likely happen with the same possible name. Not necessarily DCP. I know you're basically my lore expert, but when I initially
the California in general is complicated because that's where the first two games take place. But like,
yeah, but
and anyway, you had Hollywood be kind of like that, but no, you had the hills. You had the hills be like that.
But basically,
Hollywood Hills.
Applewood or Hollywood, which oddly enough, there actually is another location in the U.S. called Applewood. Oddly enough, but because the My Little Pony creators sometimes are super creative with their naming of places. I said it because there are so many better horse puns for Hollywood that they should have gone with, but they ended up going with Applewood. But sorry, I had to stick with the canon of that. But anyways,
you stick with the canon with that, but you don't stick with the canon with other things.
Whatever.
I see.
I see. Yeah. Well, basically, so Applewood hadn't necessarily been explored in a fic when I kind of created it. There was one other one. I don't know if the fic either got canceled or finished or something. It's called so that if you go onto the wiki, there's actually two Applewoods. There's Applewood for fertile ground, but there's also Applewood, which I initially created for my canceled fic, Ballad of a Crystal Pony, which I decided to reuse for the purposes of NHS. And so there's far too much lore around the in-universe Nuclear Horseman Studios than there really has a right to be, because we're probably never going to use it. The ARG thing we decided to cancel because there was only one guy who kind of followed it, and
I don't really know if it counts as canceling at that point.
I put it on hiatus. I had an event happen where the characters who were using Twitter to communicate had to kind of go dark, and I don't know if I'll ever bring it back. Because we kind of need real business cards to hand out at conventions, not ones that are going to confuse people with a puzzle in the back. Admittedly, it was a cool puzzle, but who's going to collect 10 business cards to put a puzzle together?
Well, there were a couple people that did it.
Well, that's because Looney was became a spokesperson. Looney's great at conventions. If you ever have business cards and you see the Looney Turtle at a Brony convention,
just stick it in his hat.
Yeah, give him a stack of the business cards, because he basically collects a bunch of business cards, and as he meets people, whenever he gets their business card, he'll give them a random one from his hat. It's great. It's like, okay, Looney, take these and go have fun. And he's great because Looney is a very personable person, or personable turtle, I guess. And
you're a turtle.
He's very very much an extrovert and will talk to everybody. And so you should. And he's also a certified hugger. So you should, if you see him at conventions, say hi and give him a hug and whatnot. And looks like the person who became our third Patreon, Cloud. It looks like he'll be joining the podcast at some point, apparently, because he got a reward that basically gives him a spot on this podcast when and if we ever actually, do it.
Well, we're doing it for once.
Well, part of the reason we were went so long without one was because my computer...
Nothing was happening?
My computer... Well, that, and my computer was malfunctioning, which is why I had to outsource editing of episode 3, and all that kind of stuff. But I got a new computer, and initially OBS wasn't recognizing my microphone. So I'm like, well, fuck, I can't. I lost all my Photoshop, and other Adobe programs, and now I can't use OBS because Macs are weird and they identify microphones and desktop audio as something different or something like that. But then I got it to work, and so here we are today.
Well, hello there.
Hello.
Hello? Are you
Hi.
are you Cloud?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me just fine?
Yeah. I have all the other people who aren't me in one track and me in the other track, and I tried to make them both the same volume.
Right.
So hopefully the stream hears you.
Yeah.
Thank you for like the millionth time for supporting our production with the top tier thing.
No problem. I thought it would be good to help you guys out, so.
Thought it would be funny.
Now all we need to do is, actually get videos out.
Right.
Ew. Like we'd ever do that.
Producing content. What's that? We've never done that.
Oh, who knows? Maybe one day.
Well, currently, the person who's editing it, Cinder, started their own project. Oddly enough, technically with Dead Tree Studios, but not. I don't know exactly how it.
It's okay.
Differentiates.
This is a complicated thing because they're not technically the same thing.
Yeah, well,
they're related, but they're not. It's
basically
not from the same. It's not part of the group, the corporation. It's just a related thing. It's not the same.
Yeah. So basically,
you know what I mean?
As you're probably aware, is Dead Tree Studios obviously are most known in the fandom for making the Fallout Equestria pen and paper game, and
I'm pretty sure they're only known in the fandom for that.
Probably, I don't know. And
Right.
then so they do a stream of and then Fiara the Tank Girl does a stream of a playthrough of it, which she then turns into a fic on FimFiction, Fallout Equestria, Dead Tree, and it's being turned into a audio drama like audiobook, and the person heading that project is Cinder Script. And so Cinder has been quite busy setting that up. So I don't know when episode 3 will be coming out. I'm probably gonna see about if she's edited the audio for episode 3, I'll put it with the visuals because my new computer no longer has the issue of not functioning.
That's a good thing.
Well, my other computer that I was using was several years old. It's gone through several hard drives. And it was a laptop that I got when I went to college. It's like a 2012 MacBook Pro, and it was majorly slowing down. I couldn't edit a video project on there without it locking up every 10 seconds. So
That was just terrible. I just got myself a HP laptop. Envy from Walmart just not too long ago. And it works perfectly. I haven't really done anything like video editing thing.
okay, but
It was just
okay, sorry, you're saying
just general gaming for me.
yeah. Well,
Are you a gamer?
Yes.
So basically, even then I updated to like the newest Mac OS that it could handle, and besides making all of my my 16-bit programs, basically all my legacy Adobe programs just no longer work. It slowed it down even more, and I'm like, I need a new computer, and so I managed to get a new computer. But while it was not working, I'm like, crap, I'm the one that's holding up episode 3. And as of BronyCon, Cinder offered to edit, but then things got busy for her. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Which,
It's
but
okay.
on an unrelated note,
It's okay.
If there's anybody watching, which is there's 2 people watching, so I'll probably just go for an hour and then end this unless someone else shows up. There's only so much I can talk about. I can only.
We could talk about board games.
We could. Oh yeah, you have that board game you want to talk about.
Yes.
But if anyone out there is a writer of Fallout Equestria content and feel like they really know that Fallout Equestria lore and want to join as like a writer, I mean, as much fun as it is writing this series and such, there's a lot of stuff to cover, and it would be really nice if I wasn't the only writer.
I've actually been considering and doing my own fanfic between me and my friends.
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
Yeah, like I've if Bunny gets back to writing his fic, technically it's connected to a lot of my fics, but
Which one?
weren't you gonna weren't you
Which
the
one?
Sourpuss dossier?
Oh, Sourpuss. Sourpuss was a good one. Sourpuss's dossier.
I definitely think there's the possibility that I might even have Sourpuss show up in the Storyteller series just because reasons.
Yeah, I like Sourpuss. I just need to. I'm bad at focusing. You have this thing. You can focus on stuff. I can't do that.
Actually, I'll shift focus a lot. Like I was focusing on
you
this
can
for a lot of
do
time.
Things.
I got all the planned episodes for Volume 1 written, more or less. But then I'll shift focus and I'll plan the intricate details of a D&D world that I have yet to actually use because I can't find 4 players. Every time I get close, scheduling conflicts arise and the whole thing falls apart.
That does suck. But I do want to say one thing is that I know that a lot of other people want to write their own fics with their friends, but whenever I do my thing, I think of a story and go from there. I'm considering focusing kind of on how the mega spells were created.
Which
on
a funny side note, there actually is going to be an episode of The Storyteller on that.
Really?
We know how the mega spells were created. Well, okay, we know how the process started. We don't know all of the specifics.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not going to spoil. I do breach headcanon territory in the episode on mega spells. Especially because the term megaspell is used quite liberally in Fallout Equestria fics. It can be anything from the pink cloud to a bellfire bomb to apparently
it's anything with a megaspell matrix. That's the whole point.
No, but you see, here's the thing: sonic rain booms are classified as a more or less a type of megaspell.
Wait, in what? Where are they classified as a mega spell?
I think
that sounds silly to me.
I think they compared it on a level of magnitude, not necessarily that it actually was.
Yeah, that makes some sense, especially because it was a sonic rad boom. But the actual mega spells are all spells put in mega spell matrices, like Celestia's voice or vision or whatever it was called.
There's Celestia 1, which uses the power of the sun. There was the pink cloud,
which was based on a potion of some
protection.
It was based on the thing from
Sierra Madre.
I mean, in universe, it was based on the same weapon that they used at the fucking children's hospital.
Yeah, which is why it's also referred to as
the children, the school.
It's referred to as Little Horn Agent because of the Little Horn massacre that it caused when it was
So,
first
see,
used.
that was the basic version, and then they put that in a Megaspell Matrix, and it became the Megaspell version.
I mean, unless you're
And
gonna
then
go
it
with what
changed
you're gonna
into
go
dragon.
with Project Horizon's canon, that the dragon that guarded the treasury ate basically a gem infused with the Megaspell, and that's why that's how it activated. But not everyone likes
I
Project
thought the whole
Horizon.
point was that, like, in the original fic, that she was so contaminated by the agent that she started breathing it out instead of fire, and that was the whole point.
Which, I mean, it would make sense.
She was a
It would
ghoul.
make sense if it was activated inside her stomach.
That is true. It is totally true.
I don't know. It's whatever.
But
It
I mean,
doesn't really
the
matter.
ability to breathe pink cloud is not an unusual ability of Canterlot ghouls. So it definitely, even if you don't count Project Horizon as canon, there's still the possibility that
she can breathe pink gas in the fic.
Chalkfee? Oh no.
I don't know. I
Bun
think you just
bun
got-
down. Bun down. Oh no.
No. Well,
We lost our most artistic bunny ever. And I said artistic just in case my pronunciation was weird. He's Art Bun. He's the person known as Art. We refer to him as Art Bun internally, and I realized I put that into the script for the Patreon video. I'm like, you know what? We're leaving it. That's his official nickname now. He is Art Bun.
okay.
Even though he goes by Chalkfee as well, so...
I'm sorry, what?
You disappeared. Did you die or something?
I got a call.
Oh.
I actually have to go to work.
I thought you don't leave till like 2. Oh, it is 2.
Yeah.
We've been talking about nonsense for a half an hour. Cool.
Well, no, it's... I wasn't actually going to end up working today because they called it off, and then I got called in now, which is kind of annoying, but whatever.
Yep.
At least now I can work more, which means that I can do better at paying off my credit card bill.
Woo. Being financially stable is amazing.
I'm not financially stable. I'm not going to be able to pay off this bill, period. But after that, I get $600, and that's really annoying.
Fun. Yeah, I work nights. I'm not even usually awake at this time. I want to do. Today's my day off. Today is my day off. But is it really a day off if I worked until 7 a.m.? Like
unless we consider like noon or midnight.
No, the schedule.
Yeah, just consider midnight.
I punched in at
fine.
11 p.m. last night and punched out around 7:20 or so this morning. Like,
Where did I put
can
my
you
wallet?
really count it as a day off if I technically worked a portion of the morning? It's just so weird how my work classifies it.
No.
Yeah.
Didn't you work more today than yesterday?
Yeah, I work
If
all
you
of
got off at-
I work all of 1 hour on the previous day, and then it was. But the good news
That's-
is working overnights, I get an extra $1 per hour between midnight and 6 a.m. So like the first hour and the last hour of my
not
shift.
7. Why not the last hour? That's
I don't know. The
weird.
first hour and the last hour of my shift I do not get paid an extra $1 per hour.
that's. I get the first hour maybe, but why the last hour? That seems odd to me.
I don't know.
Where is my wallet?
I'm guessing it's because that's when morning shift comes in.
Probably.
Who knows? Companies are weird.
Oh, I need to turn on my Bluetooth.
Oh yeah, so last night I was just generally angry at people, and like my tolerance for stupid shit in my gas station.
Ah, there you are.
Yeah, tolerance for stupid shit in my gas station has gone considerably down the level I'm willing to deal with. So like, I used to like be kind and courteous no matter what the customers were doing, like even if they were being rude or whatever. But now I kind of do like if you're gonna act like that, you can get out of the store, kind of thing. So this guy, he dropped a can of Pepsi, or it hit the side of the cold cooler or something, and started like exploding, but not like gushing soda. It was like a. I could hear it from the register, but it was like a small, like a more like smaller breach in the can, making it kind of bubble out a little bit and depressurize and whatnot. Instead of, doing the logical thing of rushing over to one of the many sinks in the store, no, he decides to open up the employees only door to the walk-in cooler and basically roll the still exploding Pepsi into the back. Like, that is somehow the better option than rushing to a sink.
It sounds like he was trying to destroy the back room.
No, when I call them out on it, like, dude, that was an employee-only area, and you didn't dispose, and you should have rushed that soda to a sink instead of putting it back there. And he
Did
just
you
like
insist he pay for
he's
it,
angrily
at least?
pointed at me, like he wanted to say something, like insult me or some way, but he decided to hold back. He just angrily pointed at me, set the other can he was gonna actually buy down, and thankfully he set it down, didn't like throw it on the ground out of anger, set down and stormed out. I'm like, well, fuck you too, sir.
He didn't even pay for it?
No, he set it down. He didn't take it with him. He didn't steal.
But but he didn't pay for the other one?
The broken... No, we can mark that one as damaged.
You should have made him pay for it.
It's not you break it, you buy it. It's you break it, okay, we'll mark that as damaged, you grab another one.
Should make him pay for it.
I used to work at a gas station too, so I know the details. At night, obviously.
I've only ever worked like 3 jobs, so... Dog!
There are some pretty interesting things that occur at
work.
Especially during the night shift. The crazies all just come out.
I mean, you are one of the crazies.
There were people who come in drunk at like 1 a.m. Is it too late to buy beer? Yes, sir. We stopped selling beer at 11:30. Oh.
Why? You do?
Yeah.
That's a thing?
State law in my state says we can't sell any alcohol after 11:45, and the place I work at just stops it a couple minutes early. Just to be safe. Because?
I'm actually curious. What state are you from? If you're willing to divulge that.
I think I've divulged it before, and I'm not saying what town I live in, but my earplug fell out. I live in New Hampshire. It's a law in New Hampshire apparently that you can't sell alcohol after 11:45 if you're a retailer, or like 1 a.m. if you're a bar.
Yeah. Well, I live in Indiana, and we kind of have the same laws of that. But back when I was working, we were a dry state on Sundays.
Huh.
Yeah. And apparently Ohio has drive-through bars where you can purchase your alcohol there, and then
but you're not supposed to drink and drive.
Yeah, but you can purchase alcohol at a drive-through alcohol store in Ohio.
That's just weird. Kind of seems counterintuitive.
It is.
Seems very counterintuitive to the no drinking and driving thing.
Right. It was totally weird when I first passed one as a truck driver. I was like, what the heck? Well, I need to get myself going and shopping.
Okay, well.
If you're still on after, I'll pop back on for a little bit.
Well, that's cool.
We're probably only going to go for another 20 minutes. We're going to end it at 2:30 because apparently shorter podcasts are better. I don't know.
I mean, they encourage people to watch them later.
I was recommended that if we continue making these podcasts, we make them shorter.
I mean, it makes sense if you want people to watch it later.
Yeah. So, all right, I'll catch you guys later.
Adios.
Bye.
So about board games.
Oh yeah. So no one steal Bunny's idea, but he wants to talk about a board game idea that's been in his head that apparently he can't put down on like paper or write out in a Discord message.
I've been trying to. I've been trying for days, and I can't get anything right on it. Yeah, so like it's the idea I've been working on is mostly a card game. Maybe I can't decide whether I want it to be a card and hex game, like the board is hexes, but I don't know. It's called Apocalypse or something. I don't know, some Latin apocalypse word.
That's it.
Well, I was expecting you to respond.
I thought you would have more to describe.
I do.
I should not have been eating messy sushi while podcasting. I'm always eating when we're podcasting. If you watch,
better than like trying to take public transportation while you're podcasting, like I'm about to.
I like how on cue you just heard a car horn.
Yeah. They have dramatic timing.
I feel like I am always eating because I have like I think last time I had like a bunch of chips. I was munching on chips during the podcast, and this time I'm eating sushi.
Let's see.
Okay, so how would this potential game be played?
All right. So the game idea that I have it's an asymmetric play game. If you know what that means.
Nope. Oh, asymmetric, so like top-down angle kind of thing?
No. So like everybody has a different style of play.
I was the only asymmetric thing I could refer my brain was referring to was the old Fallout games, which were asymmetric turn-based RPGs.
Yeah, that's not what I mean.
And I always viewed as an asymmetric game being like you're looking down from above, like in Fallout. But I guess I was wrong with my definition.
Asymmetric means not symmetrical, not the same.
I just realized I'm a complete idiot. I knew that definition too, but for some reason didn't go there with that. My mental I'm still tired. Okay, I work overnights. I'm used to waking up at like 4 or 5 p.m. So, in fact, I haven't had coffee.
I fell asleep at like 3 something last night.
I was texting.
I'm not
I was texting you.
Oh yeah, you were. Yeah, I fell asleep shortly after we stopped talking.
DCP says I'm thinking of isometric.
Yes, you are. You are.
Okay, I'm gonna be right back. Bun. Talk right. Amongst yourself. You're the only one here, so just to talk for a little bit. I'm gonna go get some coffee.
All right. Don't embarrass her. All right, so I'm all alone, and I'm walking through the streets of a big city. So, everybody, let's welcome you to the Bun Show. We talk about buns and rabbits. So this is called a bun, and it has a boople snoot and the danger floof. Yes. This is the anatomy of a radioactive bun.
Okay, I'm back.
Did you hear any of what I just said?
No, I told you I was going to get coffee. I took the earbud out.
Why?
Because if I unplugged the headphones to still hear you when I walked away, you would hear an echo.
Oh shit, I'm gonna have to plug my phone in for most of this. Anyway. Well, no, I usually, I always have my headphones plugged into my phone, which, yeah, because I'm lazy, too lazy to put in my snowball into my laptop.
Okay. So what are the basic rules of your asymmetrical game?
All right, so everybody starts with a deck of 18 cards, and these cards are different for each player, right?
Okay.
And each player represents a apocalyptic faction or tribal group. You know what I
Interesting.
mean?
Interesting.
And the point is to win victory points of various types by collecting cards and exploring and all these sorts of things. So, I'm trying to figure out if I want to have a hex-based exploration system, which is what I was intending on the outset, where you draw hex cards from a deck and you put them out on the board instead of a board, and then you explore those, and that means that people can collect those as parts of their territory, and those would count as victory points and stuff.
Interesting.
But I'm not sure about. But the main function is that everybody would have a deck, and the decks would do different things because they would be different factions, right? So the one I was thinking of was like a raider-style faction group called Riot Play.
I mean, it sounds interesting. I mean, if you want to, I mean, it's just this post-apocalyptic theme. DCP is saying so. It's Risk.
It's not Risk. Risk doesn't have card game elements. Risk is a strategy game.
Well, it means it's already post-apocalyptic. If you actually made this game, we could make it like Fallout Equestria theme. But that's just my mind being one tracked. Like, this is the Fallout Equestria channel of mine. I do Fallout Equestria stuff and Fallout Equestria accessories on this channel.
I mean, I would be perfectly happy if I got the rules down to make a limited time version of the game that is Fallout Equestria themed. But I need to make rules first.
Yeah, that usually helps.
So I'm thinking the things that your deck consists of different kinds of cards, most of which would be people cards, but some would be like item cards and some would be location cards maybe.
I mean, it definitely sounds interesting. I feel like I'm thinking nowadays there's so many board games.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
that something similar probably exists. Like maybe it's very similar to Settlers of Catan or something, but it could still be interesting.
It is very much not like Settlers of Catan. Trust me on that one.
I haven't played Settlers of Catan. I was just trying to think of a game that involved like hexes, and I'm pretty sure I saw they have hex boards for that game, but I've never played it actually.
The games that are most similar to it would be. It really depends on what focus I'm going for. Currently, my idea is to go for a card-based focus with possibly no other elements, rather than just different decks of poker cards or, well, trading card-sized cards. And that would be fine. But the other ideas I had included more of an economy. And I'm not sure whether I want to decide on that or not.
I mean, that's something you gotta figure out.
True. I want there to be like trading aspects to the game, so maybe I can install elements of the game that allow people to trade cards across each other, depending on what type of card they are. I could have policy cards. I could have like so many different things, but it just depends on how complex I really want to make this game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It reminds me of this game that the person who, Cool Man and my brother, and I think a few other people that are not really friends with anymore, because one of them's a compulsive liar and whatnot. Basically, side tangent aside, we designed an idea for like a card game thing where it was like the basic premise was it was all about like building like a robot kind of thing and like fighting the other person's giant robot, and there'd be like you'd have to like do research to develop a part, and then you can put the part out and you build the robot like a head, a power source, a torso, an arm, hands, legs, feet, and then the final part of the game would be like even while you're building a robot, there would be the option to attack and try to like destroy the other person's robot, and we had like themes that were like that ranged from your actual like 50s sci-fi future theme to steampunk to even like primitive dinosaur themed, like where somehow it's still a robot but made out of like of bones and plants and stuff like that.
Yeah. So anyway,
that was the only game idea I have, but
yeah.
I figured
So,
you were sharing a game, I would share a game.
If I have exploration, then the expansions would be pretty easy, because like it would be clear that one of the expansions would be like water based, and it would include a couple water based factions and a whole bunch of water based stuff. Yeah, well, like each faction is based on like an archetypal faction from like apocalyptic fiction, right?
Yeah.
So one of them would be the archetypal like people wearing like BDSM gear faction, punk BDSM gear faction, which is in like 50%, if not more, of 80s apocalypse movies. I mean, have you seen Mad Max? But other factions would include like a group of hippies that commune with the mutants and can like have the ability to recruit mutants, which none of the other factions would have or something. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Well, my advice: develop this game, figure out the rules and the play thing, and then maybe with the help of our friends over at Dead Tree Studios can help us make the game.
I doubt they want to make a board game. They're already working on 2 RPGs. True.
Dead Tree Studios, eccentricity in gaming, I think is their slogan. Which, by the way, I don't know if it's been stated yet, but part of the agreement with Dead Tree Studios is obviously more videos like the one that we posted sometime last week, where like one of our voice actors will read through a section of their various game books. At conventions, there's the possibility that they will sell this Nuclear Horseman Studios merchandise, like art prints and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And we can just have it so that, like in the actual convention, Moon Guy is just sitting there for the entire convention, like at BronyCon.
Yeah. Because originally we were going to foot the bill for our own our own stuff, but then Dead Tree came along like, we can make merchandise for you. Like, oh, that's cool. Okay, I guess that. And it
makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Production already.
Yeah, and also because most vendors don't break even at their first convention, so we would be putting a lot of money into something that wouldn't that we'd end up losing money on.
And instead, we'll just sit back, bring some merch, and be like, "Hey,
well,
hello."
I mean, obviously for their help,
and then pay thousands of dollars to the people.
I understand that obviously for obvious reasons, there definitely would be a revenue sharing of some sort for the stuff that they sell that would be Nuclear Horseman Studios related. But like, it would have been like that no matter what if we'd gone through the Traveling Pony Museum, which we technically could still also do because I think Dead Tree even sells their stuff through Traveling Pony Museum. So
no, they don't. She does. It's different. Remember, they're different people.
I'm pretty sure that the Traveling Pony Museum also had was selling some of the Dead Tree game books, but I might be wrong.
No, they just had the fan fiction, which is technically not connected. It's just related. It's
weird.
It's not okay. It's not corporately affiliated. Is the term that I'm looking for, I guess.
Yeah, because the stream that Fiora does, I think, is to help promote and like play test for Dead Tree.
Yeah, she's one of the playtesters. What's his face? Even runs it. Who's one of the main guys that makes the game.
Yeah, so it's associated but not officially. Anyways, let's stop talking corporate mumbo jumbo and get back to fun topics.
Well, I've been thinking again about trying to do that map thing.
Woo! Well, we can make it an official NHS thing. It's just you might have to conform to NHS's canon, which apparently includes a few less things than your personal canon.
The problem is that you don't conform to show canon. Anyway.
What do you mean?
You argue different things that aren't supported by show canon stuff.
Like what?
Like the way Equestria was born.
What do you mean?
Equestria was made before the princesses were around.
That I'm aware that's how it was. That's how that is show canon.
I know it is. You argue against it.
I
Probably around like decades before the princesses took official rule.
But yeah, there had to be a transfer of power.
Well, yeah, by Star Swirl.
Yeah, from Princess Platinum, Commander Hurricane, and Chancellor Puddinghead.
Well, no, I always assumed they would have advocated to their assistants, at least in that sort of thing, considering how well their assistants fucking did.
Yeah.
Hearthwarming is a weird story, and it is the only way of tracking how many years exist in My Little Pony have like passed, and it's hard, and I can't remember the exact amount, but I want to say 8.
Yeah, well, because there's the timeline for My Little Pony is so confusing. The first 4 seasons are like 1 year, and then after that, every season is a year.
Not quite, because just a season ago, it was 2 years. On the 8th season, it lasted about 2 years. So...
And then a whole bunch of shit went down 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, but that was... So the problem with that is that there's a... Anyway. Because Discord happened after the Sirens were banished. Discord was done because the Sirens were banished by the Pillars, and then the shit happened with Shadow Fucker.
With Stygian?
Yeah, Shadow Fucker. That sounds like a pony name, doesn't it?
That or a stripper name.
It can be both. I mean, come on. Twilight Sparkle?
Yeah, there's a fun game on the internet somewhere where it's like My Little Pony character or stripper name.
And it's usually both. I mean, think about it. I bet there's a stripper somewhere that calls herself Glim Glam.
Maybe. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but there's like I read the comics, obviously. Well, maybe not obviously, but I do go by Comic Sans, not the font, but it's not an Undertale reference. But
because
anyways,
it was before Undertale, sorta.
Yada,
Yeah.
yada, yada. A couple months before Undertale is when I chose the name. Yada, yada, yada. But basically, there's one issue that I have with the comics trying to actually, they're supposed to be based off the show. But there was actually one arc in the comics that was directly connected to the Shadowplay episodes.
Technically, there were two. Because there was the one about the book that was directly preceding the part where they got the book that allowed them to summon Stygian and the rest, right? And then there was part 2, and then there was the series of legends that are basically canonical that predate the that are in between the actual legends within the show and when they meet up in the show.
I mean, yes, there's the Legends of Magic or something like that series, which is like expanding on the various various pillars, backstories, and whatnot. But what I'm talking,
and that's where I learned that there was a pony whose cutie mark is the alchemical symbol for Earth, and I bet you can guess what kind of pony he is. Yeah, he's an Earth pony. No fucking shit.
Fun. Anyways, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about I think it's like, there's like a 4-part arc that is more or less a retreading of one of the early arcs in the comics involving a bookworm that would eat stories and make them real. But instead, there is a alleged, great something times great relative to Stygian, which...
Yes.
Just broke the canon already. He seems like he's barely a teenager even after all that time in purgatory.
He's not barely. They're in their 20s. They're like when.
No, okay. The other pillars I would say are probably in their 20s, but Stygian specifically looked a lot younger than all of them.
I feel like the others are like in their 30s and higher. Obviously, Star Swirl is like 100, but. Here's something that I wanted to say explicitly because of the pillars, right? It feels to me very clear that the pillars existed very shortly after the merging of Equestria.
Yeah.
Because they were in Equestria, but their cultures were so wildly different because of the Equestrian culture hadn't really formed yet. That's why what's his face? Flash Magnus is so Roman.
Well, you know a lot of the Pegasi history involves a lot of Roman stuff because Pegasus was a specific winged horse from Greek mythology. So
yeah, but they don't give the fucking unicorns Celtic history.
What do you call Stronghoof or Rockhoof?
1, Rockhoof is Nordic, and 2, he's an Earth pony.
Okay, valid points. All valid points.
It's Nordic, and he's an Earth pony. He is probably a reference to. I feel like they're a reference to what's his face, the Nordic really important horse. Loki's son.
I don't know.
Odin's horse.
I used to be really big into mythology. I had an awesome teacher in high school that somehow without sounding too much like a boomer was able to mix memes and mythology. It was a really trippy class. She would tell the stories of mythology, but somehow sprinkle in pop culture references that didn't seem too cringy. It was weird. It was a great class. If I can make a YouTube series about her tellings of mythology, it would be probably fantastic. But back to what I was saying about the comics that literally preceded Shadowplay.
Yes, I know.
It seemed going into Shadowplay without having seen Shadowplay, it would make sense. But after seeing Shadowplay and reading the comics, it doesn't make sense because, no offense to Stygian, but it doesn't look like he had the confidence or time to have offspring before going full evil. I'm just saying.
Does it explicitly say they're a descendant or just a relative?
I don't know. I think maybe it may have been relative, but it felt like...
You've made this argument to me before, and I remember it.
Yeah, I may have even been in a podcast before because I tend to retread topics because we go so few and far between with these things.
I don't know. It was probably one of the Hakon podcasts.
Maybe. I
Like
think
2 years ago.
Which, speaking of Hakon, we're going to try to do something Nuclear Horseman Studios there if they'll accept us, but they probably won't, and so we'll have to do the comic book one again. Which Horses at Home Con is February 29th. Leap Day. Mark your calendars.
You know what would be great, and a great little thing that we could do?
What?
I could run a game. No, that sounded better in my head.
Anyways, so it just seems weird that this guy in the comic book arc is trying to get rid of every reference to the Pony of Shadows to prevent the return of his ancestor or his distant relative or whatever. And it ends with the book that he was actually seeking, like the most important Star Swirl's journal.
It
or
got
whatever.
dropped in a barrel that got sealed and then got sold off as a lot of books.
Yeah.
As in a lot. A space lot. Not just a lot.
It was a lot of books.
It was a lot of books. Yes.
Yes. Okay. This isn't my regular comic review channel, so let's move away from
Okay.
If there's anything else you want
Fallout
to talk about?
equestrian lore. No, okay. I don't know. I can't seem to get myself to do anything. Oh, comic. Have you seen this TV show Hilda?
No.
Darn. It's a cute cartoon about like Scandinavian mythology.
Oh, I think I saw it. I think I've seen it on Netflix. I haven't actually watched it, but
Yeah, it's a Netflix original. I think.
yeah,
It's good.
there's what sucks that Netflix doesn't know when they have a good series or not. Like, oh, just because the BoJack Horseman animators decided to unionize, let's cancel BoJack Horseman.
For a second, I thought you said BoJack Horseman anime, and I'm like,
No. Well,
that sounds interesting.
Technically, it's animated, but it's not animated. It's a different genre of cartoon.
Well, we talk about cartoon horses.
Yeah, true. I'm just like
So,
BoJack
that is
Horseman
on
was like one of my
topic.
favorite like adult cartoons, and just because, and Tuca and Birdie was okay, but like. Tuca and Birdie got canceled. The BoJack Horseman animators unionized, and because they unionized, Netflix is like, "Oh, sorry, guess you're not greenlit for another season. Bye."
Didn't they finish gracefully? I thought they finished gracefully.
No. I'm not saying they're not going to get a finale. They knew long enough in advance that they weren't going to get another season that they're actually going to make a finale. And sorry,
I thought that already happened.
It's probably released. I haven't seen it. I've been like putting it off because if I don't watch the last episode, it's never over.
Have you watched the last episode of My Little Pony yet?
Yes, that I saw.
Oh yeah, we never talked about that. Damn it! Wait, what was the last? What happened in the last one? What? Let's see. Oh, future shit, and Apple Dash shipping.
The heck? What? The Discord public Discord link disappeared from the description.
Hello. I didn't realize you were still here. I couldn't be sure because you stopped talking.
Me?
Yes.
I feel like I should be insulted.
Because you've shut up.
No, because you realize I'm not. You only acknowledge my existence if I'm talking nonstop, which is a bad habit of mine.
Yes. But when you stop, it makes it so that when you stop talking, I'm worried you've disconnected.
Well, I mean, DCP said that he was gonna join the call, but he wanted to wait till we're done talking to not interrupt. So I don't know if he's gonna join or not.
I didn't know that. Join.
Well, I am here. I'm just waiting for you two to be quiet.
Ah.
Why should we be quiet?
Because
We're
that
the
allows me
stars
to
of the
enter the
show.
conversation gracefully.
Gracefully entering the conversation. Entering the conversation gracefully is a myth.
It's very easy to do. First, you wait for a lull in the conversation, then you introduce yourself. That way you don't disturb the current conversation going on.
There's never a lull in the conversation.
Especially with me here.
Well, that is fair, but it's still impolite just to barge in.
No,
Fair.
it's not.
And there's the job.
That's
So-
how it's wasteland manners. Come on.
So how,
this is
how's
proper
so
wasteland
DCP? How's the land down under? Is it still on fire?
Thankfully, a lot of the fire has been put out right now. It's still burning in a couple of areas, but it's not as bad as it was. You can actually breathe outside.
That's good.
Oh,
breathing is kind of important. You need that to live.
Oh, comic! Did you see that that really horrible timing with the Chinese New Year Steam sale?
No, I have not. I don't. The only
They put Pandemic on sale.
Oh.
I think that was intentional by the
It's
developers.
horrible timing.
Or the best timing.
It's either a really cruel joke or a bad timing, or both. Could be both. I don't know. I just thought that was funny. It does feel like we're in a pandemic game right now, doesn't it?
Probably, especially with all the random outbreaks of different things and whatnot.
Well, it
Just
is
go
the
to
20s.
Iceland. You'll be safe.
Have you? I would rather. Yeah, no, Iceland's better. But I want to go to Greenland. Cooler and got more magic.
Well, here's the thing. If you go to Greenland, everyone else is
full
going
of
to go to
ice.
Greenland because it's the safe place to go. Therefore, you go to Iceland. Then you can at least have some decent bloody weather.
What if we go to Madagascar? That almost never gets picked.
That's where you start. You always start in Madagascar so you can get the early insects.
Are you guys talking about the game? I hope.
Yes. You always start
Yes,
an
we're
infection that spreads
definitely
by
not.
animals in Madagascar.
Yes, we are definitely talking about the game. We are not real life bioterrorists.
Good.
We
I
probably-
on
was
record.
I was worried.
Do not work for the Umbrella Corporation. Do not worry about the logos on our IDs.
Okay, I won't.
You can't track the logo on my ID. Because
It's a very pretty day
it's
out.
Australia.
What, are the logos different in Australia? Are they all
Yeah,
upside
we
down?
have different, Oh no, visas are a bit different. So if you would compare
How?
visas... Well, for stars, I've got an Australian flag on mine.
Yeah. Presumably.
Then we've also got a different numbering convention. I think yours has like one less number than ours.
Wait for what? Sorry, I realized that I hadn't shared a link to this in every single server that I'm a part of, and so I was going through all the servers. So I missed the last little bit of conversation. What's happening?
Huh? Oh, we were talking about IDs or something.
I don't really know. I was just trying to go along with the flow.
Yeah.
Where's the sharing links section of this server? Oh, there you go. Post-apocalyptic promo.
You know, there's that whole thing where, what was I thinking? Huh. There's this, you know, there's like all of these people in the U.S. being like, if you don't like America, leave it. Right? And it's like, yeah, but you can't do that. It costs like thousands of dollars to do that. And that's without even the travel costs. That's just, it costs thousands of dollars to renounce America. Of course it does. Of course, there would be
Well,
a
they're gonna tax
fee.
every single dollar they can get out of you.
Of course, they're gonna have a fee to renounce America.
Yeah, sure, why not?
But-
You know, that's capitalism for you.
That's where you get kicked out. You don't try to renounce, you just get kicked out.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, they can they. I don't think they can kick you out if you were born here, because you would kind of. I don't know. It's weird.
No,
Oh, no,
I
they can
think
expel you.
There are manners to expatriate you. Expatriate. You
Fun.
can be expatriated, but that's like for terrorists and stuff. So it
Fun.
doesn't happen often. It just gets mentioned in cool TV shows and stuff.
If you're deemed an enemy to the United States, you can be expatriated or exiled from the country.
Yeah, that.
Okay, I learned something new, and they say that the Radwiener podcast isn't educational. I don't know who they are or why they're saying that, but apparently that's what I went with.
I don't know why they keep having words put in their mouths. They must really get tired of being told that they are saying things that they have never remember saying.
I guess.
Whoever they is must be really tired of this joke.
Yeah, probably. So,
They should be shot.
anything else you guys want to talk about, or should we just end the podcast?
What's your favorite Wasteland faction?
Wastelander faction.
In
Oh.
Fallout in general, or Fallout Equestria, or both?
Both, whatever you want.
That's actually pretty tricky for someone like me. If I had to really narrow it down, it's either the Enclave or possibly the Hubologists.
Those are wildly different things.
Well, that's the point. On one hand, you've got a really good internal reference that's laddered on with comedy and a giant spaceship with massive tubes sticking out its ass. On the other hand, you've got one of the most tragic stories of an organization driven into the ground by incompetence of its own leadership.
Uh-huh.
Fun.
Just think of the Enclave for a second here. Without people like Richardson, without idiot AI that Bethesda shoved into the game, even though a PAX series supercomputer would not be in Raven Rock for any fucking reason, it should not be there. It makes no sense that Raven Rock, a non-control station for the Enclave, would have a PAX series supercomputer.
maybe it was put in it later. Maybe someone brought it there.
Here's the thing. There are so few PAX series supercomputers that the fact that the Brotherhood had one in the bunker in, I think it was, in San Fran, is very unusual. You find one in obviously the Glow, because that's somewhere that there would be a military PAX series computer, but there should not be one in Raven Rock. There's only like 7 of them, and one of them's in a vault that's no longer
There can
canon,
always
which
be
makes me
more.
sad.
Well,
They
you
cannot
know,
always be
canon?
more.
Bethesda
one?
is slowly but surely killing the Fallout franchise.
Oh no, they've killed it. They've definitely
I
bloody
mean,
killed it
yes,
with Fallout 76.
the
I did not buy Fallout 76. Let that sink into your brain very
I
slowly.
was cautiously optimistic about Fallout 76. I bought it. I played it.
I was actively hostile.
I played it
It
for
will
one.
be all right eventually.
I
It
will.
just needs to be released to the modders.
I
If it
bought
gets
it.
released to the modders, they might as well just remake the game.
I bought.
Yeah, but it is a Bethesda game. It never is good until the modders get a hold of it.
So basically, I bought it initially as a PlayStation 4 game because anyway, no, that was Fallout 4. Never mind. I bought it. I played it for all of one day. I'm like, this is BS, and I turned it back in the next day. Not even for store credit, even though GameStop only gives you half the actual cost of the game if you trade it in for cash. I'm like, fuck it. I don't even want store credit for this shit.
It was so terrible. I played for an hour at a friend's place. That's how little I wanted to play the game.
The concept is of the mechanics is very good.
I mean, Fallout and
Having a
MMORPGs, Fallout and MMORPGs haven't worked in the past. I don't know why Bethesda thought that their run at it would work.
It shouldn't have
Here's the
been
thing
an
with
MMO in
Bethesda.
any way.
Here's the problem with Bethesda. They make good mechanics, they just suck at everything else. If they sold off the Imagine engine, or whatever it's called, the Creation engine, to other people to use, you could have Half-Life level games being shoved out by indie devs here and there. Imagine if the people behind New California had personal access to the Creation engine to do whatever they wanted with and make a game.
Well, they had the kit. The kit's pretty
Well, they had the
useful.
GEC.
Yeah.
There's a difference between having the GEC and having the Creation engine and the ability to make your own assets.
You can add assets into it.
I think you're missing the point here. This isn't just like getting Fallout New Vegas and adding a mod to it. This is taking the Creation engine and making it a completely new game. Sell it like you would sell the Unreal engine, or Steam sells off whatever engine they have, the Source engine.
There is a lot of games that use the Unreal Engine. I'm realizing, like, there's like Borderlands, Outer Worlds, BioShock.
Yes, very good games.
Two things. Bethesda really should make a new engine. They've been using the same one for decades. It's kind of hard with all of the legacy stuff. And two, they should release or sell off like a $5 thing that allows you to use the engine. But I don't know. Just difficult.
Look what happens when competent people get hold of the Creation engine. Good things happen.
The reason that Bethesda doesn't want to upgrade their engine because, quote, it just works.
I don't think they know how it works. I
think they have more of a chance of unraveling the Gordian knot that is the Team Fortress 2 source code than they do fixing the Creation engine.
I'm fairly certain that Bethesda has the engine and just keeps editing it and has no idea when it works and when it doesn't.
My point, it's a Gordian knot.
Eh.
That one of those Gordian knot is that ununtiable knot thing, right?
It's the knot that I think Julius Caesar just sliced in half.
No, it's Alexander the Great. It was actually a knot that was owned by... Well, okay. It was owned by Midas's family, interestingly. Anyway, not important. Gordius was Midas's father. That's a fact.
My point is it's a very hard knot to undo.
Yeah. The whole point is that you can't. Well, you can. But the whole joke is that, it's so hard you can untie this. And then somebody was like, yeah, all right. And just chopped it off. I gotta stop sounding like a twat.
Let's see, what was I ranting about again?
Bethesda.
Fallout 76?
Oh, that's right, Fallout 76. It is terrible. Fallout was never designed to be a multiplayer game in any aspect. You want to try Fallout multiplayer when it was actually a bit okay? Go back to Fallout Tactics. That was a skirmish game between two players.
Wasn't there another Fallout MMORPG that didn't work?
Fallout
Online. It didn't get off the ground because Bethesda bought the stuff fully before it got off the ground. It was in development. Yeah, it was in development when Bethesda acquired the whole thing.
Yeah. And to this day, it is the biggest shame we've ever seen. Because if White Wolf had gotten hold of the license, we would be playing Fallouts on the Source engine.
In any case, I'm just saying that a Fallout Rust clone could have been a good idea. They just implemented it really badly.
If all it was a Rust clone, then tops to it would have been okay. But the problem is they tried to make it into a Fallout game. Bethesda's never made a good Fallout game. Let's just admit it, guys.
Bethesda, all they do is make Skyrim games with a Fallout paint job.
Fallout 3 was good.
Okay, Fallout 3 was good. New Vegas was great.
Terrible.
New Vegas was great, and Fallout 4 was good to a point, but not a masterpiece by any stretch of the definition.
Fallout 3 was way better than people give it credit for.
I'm currently
It
not
is a
on
terrible
speaking.
game.
I'm not on
How is it a
speaking terms
terrible
with
game?
Fallout 4.
Okay, you have to look at it from my point of view. I am a very classic Fallout fan. I've got about 13 years in the series, up until 76 basically made me quit. To me, coming from Fallout 1, 2, and Tactics, and even Brotherhood to a small extent, into the world of Fallout 3 was such a disgusting change. They can't even get the vault door right.
Yeah, the most annoying factor about Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, which again I haven't played the previous games 1, 2 Tactics because I don't have a PC and those are PC Master Race only games. They don't play on the Mac.
You can play them on mobile.
But anyways, since I haven't played the previous game,
And
but
Linux.
one that is annoying is when you're playing Fallout 3, everything's hued in a green or gray tone, and if you play
Oh, and that's another thing.
and you play
Well,
Fallout,
yeah, no,
you play
it was
Fallout New
just a thing.
Vegas, and then New Vegas is hued mostly brown.
no, well, amber. It was hued amber.
Amber.
The color, it's the same color as the Pip Boys.
Also, answer me this. How is it that organizations like the New California Republic, the NCR, organized raider groups, the Khans, the Caesar's Legion, for example, how are these groups able to reform in under 100 years, but with 200 years of almost complete isolation? DC, the capital of America, was not able to reform.
It was bombed more.
So was the West Coast. They hit major weapons facilities and had to deal with the outburst of immediate FEV infection.
But the whole point is that it's a really small map. The surrounding area is probably a lot better, but that specific area was bombed more than usual because that's what you do when you want to demoralize people. You destroy their capital. You destroy their government. You take it off at the head.
I'm just imagining I hear that you mentioning you're taking public transportation. So I'm just imagining you, Chalkfee, are just sitting on the bus talking about
I'm
this,
technically
and
on a
people
bike.
and people having no context for what you're saying.
I'm technically on a bike. I'm riding a bike.
Here's your one problem with that. If it was Bondmore, it was a really shit bombing. DC should have been reduced to glass. The thing is, there are still major buildings there.
In Fallout canon, apparently China is just a smoking crater in the ground kind of thing. Like, why wasn't the United States end up that way?
I thought the whole point
Actually,
was
in lore, until Bethesda changed it, China was still pretty active.
Really? Oh.
In the original Van Buren project, there would have been a mission called Doomsday, where the idea was you assault the final stronghold of China, which is just a massive nuclear payload station. What would they call them? Silo stations?
Just silos.
Silos. The idea was you would assault it with Brotherhood, Enclave, and some third naval force, using probably the NCR, even to using the BOMB to take this thing out. It was that dangerous.
So you want to know what would be really cool? If we could get a Fallout game that doesn't take place in the United States.
You know, if they
very
do
boring
that,
game.
It would be set in Canada, and they probably wouldn't be bombed that much.
To be fair, Canada was annexed as part of the Fallout lore, so it would still technically
yes, and there are a couple of vaults there.
It would be
it would
but
definitely most of the resources were because they were going to Alaska. They didn't actually do too much in the majority of Canada.
I know. I'm just saying that if it took place in Canada, it would still technically be United States according to Fallout lore. I want to see what happened to Great Britain, Spain.
It's in the ocean.
Really?
Due to the nuclear fallout, most of the polar ice caps melted, and a heap of England is now under the ocean.
That's not how nuclear fallout works.
Well, somehow the planet heated up and the ice caps melted. In the original description of the first game, it clearly states that entire continents were sunk.
I get that. I'm just saying that's not how it works, because usually, there'll be an initial heat flash, but then it'll go into nuclear winter, which is worse. So the siege would recede a bit.
Maybe they still maybe global warming is canon in the Fallout.
global warming is not really that canon in the Fallout universe, as coal and that stuff were quickly replaced with uranium.
I
Well,
know.
no,
I'm kidding.
not quickly
I'm kidding.
replaced.
I'm kidding.
No, well, to be honest, it would make sense
Rapidly
because
replaced.
they ran out. The problem was they were running out, so they used all of the oil and coal that we are using now at a faster rate than we are trying to use it now, and then near the end replace it with a fuel source. Then fuel cells? What are they called?
Microfusion cells.
Microfusion.
Which
Yeah, so they replaced it with microfusion, like at the end, like not close enough to the end that they could have saved things.
So it's
just
a
decade earlier, they might have saved some.
It's funny to think about when it comes to like the Fallout universe. I know the branching off point in Fallout Equestria isn't as clear. At least I'm not aware of the like official like thing that didn't happen in My Little
There's
Pony.
no official thing, but my assumption is still in that universe, Twilight never became a princess, and that's why it's not.
I mean, yeah, it could be that, but like, but I'm
The
saying
branch
that,
off point
but in,
comes from two. Sorry, I'll let you guys talk before I explain my theory.
Sorry, I just wanted to just really say that like it's funny to look at the Fallout universe, and one of the major contributing factors to why it's such a different history is the transistor was not created, at least not at the same time.
Not in the same manner.
Yeah,
Also
or
not
aliens.
in the same manner. It was they continued to develop tube technology. Yeah.
Yeah, the transistor wasn't invented or as readily used, and that's the major like one of the most smallest parts of the timeline of Fallout that spawned this whole dystopian
It doesn't explain why there's no
post-nuclear
new music,
apocalypse.
but
Okay, DCP, your theory on My Little Pony's branching timeline to make Fallout Equestria.
So it comes to two major things. One, Equestria lacks coal completely, to the point where it has to become reliant on the Zebra Nations for its coal.
Well,
Number two,
it didn't lack.
Season 1 is the only canon season.
okay.
At
see,
the end of the gala is when the timelines converge.
it
Not converge,
is
diverge.
okay. See, I am still someone that argues that show canon should be taken into consideration when it doesn't directly conflict with Fallout Equestria canon, because it is the world that it is based on. You don't
But we do know for a fact the Key Cat, I believe that's the name, because I've never been able to pronounce it.
K-Cat, or
K-Cat wrote the book to consist with the end of the Season 1 timeline. That's the reason people like Discord aren't mentioned, for example,
Discord
until
is
much,
mentioned
much later.
at the end.
Discord
Near
is
the end.
Mentioned
no,
once
Discord
because
as
it
a
was
passing
written-
reference.
It was finished near in the middle of season 2.
I'm
was when it
pretty
was, like,
sure.
actually
I'm pretty
finished.
sure Little Pip overhears a conversation between some of the Shattered Hoof Raiders
It was a very passing reference.
about
yes.
how Discord is a diminutive spirit of chaos, putting little handfuls of caps in various places.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't necessarily agree with how Somber used Discord, but it's still kind of cool. There are far worse uses of Discord in the Fallout Equestria universe, so like Starlight is a great fic overall. I just don't like the whole split personality Discord use in that one.
See,
This is where we have the big four.
Actually, apparently it's now like
Big
the
Eight
big
now.
8 because if you
Yeah.
all you have to do to get
based on the current considerations, it's like big 8 now.
Yeah, if you have a page specifically dedicated to your story, documented on Equestria Daily, that makes you a, quote, big fic.
Yeah.
I
According
will-
to the
Always hold to my
Really
belief
ridiculous.
that only Fallout Equestria, bits of Project Horizon, a little bit of Pink Eye, and No More Heroes are the only canon stories.
see what okay, most of Pink Eye fits fairly well, easily in every
Project
other
Horizons definitely jumped the proverbial star abomination.
canon. Yeah, okay.
Here's
That
the problem
one's
though.
difficult.
Kat has confirmed that the chapter where Blackjack is drunk at Ten Pony counts for some reason. I'm not sure why, and I can't find that quote off the top of my head.
I do have to say that K-Cat, the big four that you're talking about have been officially like acknowledged by K-Cat, But K-Cat, I think, has even said that
Nothing is
else is
canon.
canon.
Everything is
Yeah.
true.
the only true canon is the original fic. Any other fic is not necessarily canon. The main fic is
Whatever you
canon.
decide beyond that point.
Like the main fic is canon to your personal fic, but your fic is not canon to the main fic.
Yeah, and that makes it really confusing to do lore consistency.
Which I'm
And he exploded.
Which I'm a what?
Now the other guy just left real quickly. He's back.
He probably lost connection or something. He's not at home. He's using his phone. So.
Okay.
Or he got to work. I don't know. He may have left because he had to get to work.
Yep.
But
It's still 8 now? Jesus Christ! I need to go back and read some then.
Yeah. But it's really weird. There are some fics that are counted
Hello?
as a big fic.
Welcome back.
There are some fics that are counted
back.
as a big fic now that only one in a series of fics written by this author is counted, which
And it's the last one.
yeah, my friend and fellow Fallout writer Gamma Decay, one of his fics, Better Days, I think, is counted, but
Yeah.
Merchants of Hope, Long Winter, Long Haul, and like a bunch of his other fics that are all connected to Better Days in some fashion canonically aren't. But then again, Homelands isn't counted, but Project Horizons is, so...
It's really complicated when you want to get into these sorts of politics.
Yep.
It is fandom politics, and we can't really deal with it. But I will stand by the fact that unless something is explicitly contradicts other canon, it can fit together.
Like a lot of what East Corp did with their especially regarding their Wasteland Survival Guide series, Skybolt managed to actually include the the buffalo and the reindeer and the sea pony / hippogriffs, like actually managed to kind of work them into the lore and like why they weren't part of the war and how their lives are drastically changed because of the outcome of the war. It's actually quite interesting and it's probably one of the best sort of retroactive continuity nods in a fan project.
I'm still waiting to figure out how they can do the Storm King.
I think they mentioned the Storm King in one of their things, but I don't think they
Because
explicitly...
here's the problem with the Storm King. That is a superpower beyond comprehension. And if we take it that only season
part
1
of the Storm
counts like
King's power
canon
was
season.
derived from the thing that he got within the movie. Like how much power did he have before he got that?
Well, think of it like this. Before he arrives in Equestria, he's already subjugated enough people that pirates are afraid of him.
I personally will say that in my headcanon for what happened to him, and this is important to me because I've tried to write fics in the area that is depicted in the movie.
Yeah, you tried to write I think, wasn't it Black Flag that used the harpy pirate things?
Yeah, Black Flag was the pirates, and then there was going to be like stories of an Abyssinian trader or something that was about one of the cat people from Abyssinia.
Abyssinia, yeah.
Abyssinia.
Yeah,
Anyway, my idea is that he just wasn't able to get as powerful before the war started. Because remember, at this point in show canon, that's like 7 years on, right?
More or less.
And yeah, more or less. And then in like by that point, there wasn't active war, but there were tensions already starting to happen between Zebrica or Rome or whatever you want to call it.
Actually,
It changes so much
Equestria.
between different people.
apparently, the one of the first quote season 10 comics for My Little Pony is gonna have like Applejack, like Rockhoof, Zakora, and a few other people like going to the Zebra Lands.
Oh, that's
I
going to
will
be
count
very
that.
interesting.
If it has a map I am counting that, and I'm putting it in the goddamn atlas.
Oh, I hope they have a
If it
map.
ha-
I am
If
like,
it has a map, it'll make my life so much easier.
I was
Because
gonna
I can just be like, fuck you, I don't care. Show canon comes first for me.
well, technically it's comic canon, but anyways,
It's part of the show. It's a season. It's just technically a comic.
yeah, it's kind of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 8.
Because it's not really comic canon, because comic canon is a step below show canon that's already like talked about.
Like so,
the stuff about the mirror dimension. That's comic canon. It's if it contradicts show canon, then it doesn't count anymore. But if it doesn't, then it sort of does. You know what I mean?
yeah, but like it's interesting. Like, oh, season 10 is gonna be in the comics. From one point of view, it's like, wow, that's really manipulative. IDW is trying to sell their comics to the bronies that are upset the show is ending.
Me too.
But at the same time, now that they're not constrained by show canon, they can do so many awesome things in the comics.
Yeah, but well, I feel like you'd be excited.
Are
you
if
gonna
I
reviewing them?
I was gonna say, if I wasn't
do
over
that?
2 years behind in comic reviews,
Well, then just like start skipping comics. You can skip some.
I'm okay. I don't want to. Because it would mean that my the editor that does my pony reviews, because again my computer was having issues, so I couldn't do a lot of my own editing and had to outsource a lot of my projects.
Don't you have like 2 editors?
No, I have one.
You got
Zion.
replaced or something.
Zion has 2 characters, so that's why I kind of like. I'm not gonna hire a second one. I can use both characters. But basically, I don't want to like say sorry, Zion. I'm not doing reviews anymore. But I could, if I really wanted to, and I might do this, is conclude the current like story of my reviews. Which there's a background story because I was inspired by people like the top the fourth wall. What's the guys? Linkara.
Nostalgia critic.
Linkara?
Yeah, I was inspired by like people like Linkara and Nostalgia Critic who had a kind of.
Did you ever actually? I thought you didn't watch Linkara videos.
I've
asked you about this.
I've watched a few of them since you mentioned that there's a lot of the. I think you or someone compared a lot of the events that I did in my comic series as being like similar to Linkara. I'm like, I better watch some of these, I was inspired by creators like Linkara and Nostalgia Critic before Nostalgia Critic was revealed to be an asshole, to kind of have this background plot. So what I'll probably do is I'll conclude the current background plot, then do a Jello Apocalypse style every MLP comic reviewed in 10 words or less thing, and then start reviewing the new stuff just so I can actually, be a little bit more relevant.
In any case. So
maybe even if I do the Jello Apocalypse review in 10 words or less thing, I'll probably still eventually cover the comics in full. Okay, continue. Sorry.
I believe we were ranting about locations.
What's that?
I believe we were ranting about locations.
It is incredibly fucking hard to figure out where locations belong relative to each other in Fallout Equestria lore.
Yeah, because somehow...
You will not believe how difficult this is.
Oh, I can believe it.
Because somehow Hoofington is both to the east, but also shares a border with Zebraca.
And it's described as like 10 different places.
And also, apparently, there's an entire ocean between Equestria and Zebraca as well, just to make things more complicated.
Zebraca fits best across the ocean after the Griffin lands. It makes the most sense, and there can still be a border with Equestria, because Equestria officially has a border across the sea with the Griffin lands. So it can just be a border to the north. But
I assume that the opponents of Equestria annexed the Griffin lands. And that was meant to be the Canada of Equestria.
I mean, that's a good enough headcanon as any.
In FOE canon, maybe, but it's kind of complicated with that.
No,
in the show canon, it's across the ocean. It's Britain.
Oh, is it? Interesting.
Mm-hmm. It has
that was my theory. I assumed that they go into the Griffin lands to strip mine them.
Yeah, well, Well, according to like the briefest of mentions by Godina Grimfeathers in Fallout Equestria, apparently like the Griffin lands were neutral to the war, but this because the kingdom of the Griffins wasn't directly involved in the war.
But it's actually really
Mercenaries that were the precursor to the Talon mercenaries of the Wasteland were hired out to both sides. Even though officially the Griffinstone area was like neutral, mercenaries were hired from both sides.
It's funny how much that makes sense in show canon, considering.
Yeah.
I feel like I just repeated myself, but I don't know if you guys are actually hearing me. Sorry.
I can hear you.
Sorry if I was yelling or repeating myself.
No, it's fine.
But wait, weren't the Griffin
show
lands
canon-
strip mines?
I don't
What?
know. I
I
know.
remember there was talk that the
Oh,
reason the Griffins
it
were so
was
pissed
meant-
off with the
no.
ponies.
There were strip mines mentioned, but that was post-apocalyptic stuff.
Yeah,
the,
that was
The Enclave was doing
yeah,
it.
that was the
which
Enclave
makes perfect
trying to.
sense with the
Oh,
historical.
that's right, got the annex. Of course,
with the
yeah.
historical tension between the Pegasi and the Griffins, which was only solved in show canon, well, technically comic canon, by the Flash Magnus insisting on saving the Griffins during a massive storm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying that like that.
That's what I'm getting the strip mining
Yeah,
for,
is
of course.
that Gardina mentioned something about the Pegasi trying to invade Griffin airspace at some point in the 200 years between the end and the beginning of Fallout Equestria. But,
Considering the way the map is set up now, it actually makes a lot of sense still. So I'm
If
perfectly
it's
happy
across
with
the
accepting
sea,
it.
of course, that would mean that the Enclave could go over there.
yeah.
Yes, and there is Equestria across there, because that's where the border is in the comics. There's an explicit place where the border is right before the station that can go to Griffinstone. It's like there's a river there, and that's where the border is shown to be in the comics. So I feel like it was intentional.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I do this.
Well,
This is
where's
what I
Canada?
try to do when it comes with FOE canon. I try to get FOE canon and show canon to play nice together. You know what I mean?
But when it
I
comes,
get what you
when
mean.
it
I
comes
try
to
to do the same
Project
with actual
Horizons,
Fallout
good
lore.
luck, but you know.
I don't care about
Can we just
Project
talk about Fallout
Horizons.
Horizons for a second?
Huh?
Can we just talk about the end of Project Horizons for a second? Did anyone understand it?
The end or the 200-year time skip?
Both.
I haven't gotten anywhere close to that, so
Okay, well, sorry, Bun, you're gonna
Because
get
the
some
ending
spoilers.
makes no sense to me. Like, I
Okay.
get the sacrifice at any cost is the cutie mark. That's why the friend dies. That's why every time Blackjack's in a situation, it just fucks up.
Okay,
But
so,
how the fuck did she end up in the goddamn weather control station with Little Pip?
okay.
What
So
Blackjack the
so,
right
so,
to do that?
So what I interpret as happening is it's actually you get the context for why it happened this way during the events of Homelands. Pythia.
I never read Homelands.
I'm only as far as Visual Pony has gotten in it with his audiobook version. But spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't
the
read it.
audiobooks. That's why I never finished.
But basically, Pythia, who's the Starkateri who Blackjack, I think it's Pythia, who Blackjack had asked the stars for any assistance that they could. It's the reason why Pythia will never be like a shaman, and will never. She kind of renounced that ability of hers. And it's part of her arc in Homelands. I think is about her like trying not to be a shaman or whatever, even though she has this strong connection to the spirits and even can see the future in like very vivid reality in a lot of Homelands.
So she's a psycho.
Psychic and psycho. But anyways,
No, psycho. It's a thing in Fallout.
Oh.
People who are
Yeah,
exposed.
it
Yeah.
is a thing, but that's more drug based. That's more like the thing in Pink
It was
Eyes.
never drug based.
Okay, can
It is drug based.
but basically,
What happens is you're exposed to FEV and it unlocks psychic potential.
okay,
They took drugs to enhance it.
They took drugs to nullify it.
okay,
Okay,
That's what the forecaster's wearing on his bloody head. That's a psychic nullifier.
okay.
Anyway,
Anyways,
can I finish?
Madame Lazar from fucking Fallout 4 is the worst psyker in the entire
Okay.
history of the series.
Okay.
If she requires drugs to power her magic.
Okay.
Okay, anyway,
So
I am about to leave, so I'm just going to say one thing about Project Horizons before I go.
okay.
The way I say that Project Horizons can fit is that yeah. God damn it, what's her name?
Blackjack.
Yes, okay.
Go
I'm sorry,
Fish?
I'm bad at names.
Well, let's go
Blackjack.
fish, but that's fair.
Blackjack is a really, really unreliable narrator.
Yeah, she has her memory altered and interfaced and corrupted and stuff
Multiple
multiple
times.
times.
Yeah, that's a good
I
point.
think that you can explain a lot of the inconsistencies by saying that all of them are unreliable narrators. Blackjack just is a way more unreliable one.
Or, in my theory, she actually did die on the boat. And everything we're seeing is just her idea of an afterlife.
That would be an interesting theory.
I have always stood by that if it had ended on the boat, like that was just the end of Project Horizon, cut everything off and leave it to die, a game over for a Fallout Equestria book would have solidified it as the perfect one.
You know what? I think like Somber originally wanted to end it at like chapter 65 or something like that.
Couldn't have been chapter 69.
Like-
Blackjack would have wanted it that way.
I think
She would have,
I
though. You
think-
know
What
I-
what
happened
I-
in chapter 65?
I think it was like either chapter 63 or 65 during the whole Thunderhead arc. I think it was supposed to end there, but then because
Oh,
of like
God.
Patreon support or whatever, Somber continued it or stuff like that.
Holy
That's
shit.
never been my problem. Everybody wants me to continue my stories, and I'm bad at continuing.
Okay, so now explaining the end of Project Horizons and how so basically when Pythia, I think it's Pythia, may have been one of the other Starkateri, I don't know.
I'm gonna see you. Talk to you later.
Bye. When Pythia was bargaining accepting any offering from the stars to help Blackjack in any way, like not caring, Blackjack didn't care, offer them anything kind of thing. I forget which star specifically, but the stars wanted to see that if Blackjack were given the same immortality that the one of the main antagonists of the zebra, I forget his name, given the same immortality that he had, if Blackjack would also go insane and try to end the world. So, even though her biological body died during the final battle, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't read it, I mean,
The one person.
the one person watching is probably you, actually.
No, the one person who never read the end of Project Horizon, because I'm pretty sure everyone wants to know how that trash fire was going to come to a crawl, if it was just going to be a sudden burst, if it was just going to grind out for another 20 chapters.
Okay, so in one of the interesting final battle with the Eater of Souls, Blackjack uses the power source for her cybernetics to finally like destroy enough of the shielding to allow for Tom to come in and destroy the Tom being another star spirit, being able to destroy the Eater of Souls. But anyways, Blackjack dies, but because of the deal that Pythia basically had made with stars, and also because Blackjack's soul had previously inhabited her blank body, for some reason her soul was slowly transferred back into her blank body, and that is how Blackjack is able to still be living 200 years later, and also how she got back into her blank body without the use of a soul magic necromancer pony, because the stars did it. Basically, it's a really cheap way of explaining it. Oh, the stars did it. It's basically saying a wizard did it, but
Basically was a wizard.
more or less. But then the reason why Blackjack is able to get into the SPP and basically be surrogate homage for Little Pip 200 years later is because at some point apparently they decided to dismantle the SPP system and free little Pip from her extended slumber, and dismantle the weather towers and actually have the Pegasi start controlling the weather again. It's basically over this 200-year period, they dismantled everything and they regained the trust in the Pegasi to control the weather. And so that's kind of why. But little Pip has a severely compromised immune system because of her time as controller of the SPP. So she can't really leave the final little capsule that is the SPP hub, which has been set down for some reason in the Everfree Forest, where that was once Killing Joke Grotto or something like that, with the graves of the other elements of Harmony, except for maybe Derpy, outside. So it's like, it's weirdly morbid. I really don't like what the Sombra decided. Oh, I'm gonna jump ahead 200 years, and by the way, all of this now is part of the timeline if you include Project Horizons. Like apparently there's some the invasion of something called the Radworms, which were like weird mutant dragons that tried to invade, and the NCR and the New Lunar Commonwealth had to go and like fight them. It's like a lot of like puts a lot in canon. I wish.
And you know the very strange part about it? By dismantling the tower, you kill Celestia. They do realize that, don't they?
No. They actually part of the explanation is that they found someone who could remove. Snails is still alive, and Snails actually uses the soul power magic he can muster to actually remove Celestia's soul to allow her to actually pass on. That was part of the whole thing.
Oh, that's a bad thing, isn't it? Because that's actually impossible because of how the system works. It's not Celestia, it's an imprint.
No, she transferred her soul in there too as well.
I've got to reread the book then, because I just remember it being an imprint.
Yeah, no, okay, so basically, shocking, I'm more into the lore than my lore expert.
To be fair, it has been about, what, a decade since I've read it?
Basically, when little Pip gets to the SPP tower, from what I remember, I've listened to the story multiple times, but still, I could even be getting this wrong.
I've read the story, so my interpretation is based off reading, not off listening.
Yeah, okay, well, basically, when Celestia got to the SPP hub following the fall of Canterlot and the death of her sister, she wasn't aware that they had disconnected the neural copying thing from the main SPP control. And so basically, since Celestia had come in contact with the Black Book and actually knew, and because she's over 1,000 years old, a little temptation to dark magic is nothing for her. So she did actually learn the spells, because Rarity tried to have Spike burn the book and it just sent it to a Celestia. And so basically, she copied a copy of her mind and then transferred her soul into it, not realizing that it had been separated from the main control and she was only inhabiting the security system, which is why the nigh impenetrable shield was still up 200 years later. It was being powered by a Alicorn soul.
I always assumed she was in complete control of the facility.
She wasn't in complete. She only controlled the security systems.
Oh, that's right, because they needed Little Pip to control the thing.
Yeah, because if Celestia could control it, she probably would have at some point in the 200 years of forced isolation. And so basically at some point they started they separated Celestia's soul to allow her to finally pass on, and began dismantling the SPP system and gave the control of the weather back to the Pegasi. Granted, this apparently took another whole 200 years, so it wasn't immediate.
Doesn't make much sense.
But also, there's the forced shipping of Blackjack and Little Pip. Apparently,
which completely destroys her connection to Homage.
Apparently it was one of Homage's like last wishes that little Pip still be happy, and apparently the only way that Blackjack could think of fulfilling that is basically being her friends with benefits.
Oh my god, have you ever heard of the Chris Redfield tape?
No.
This is Chris Redfield. Gunshots, gunshots, gunshots. Get this message to Leon Kennedy. Gunshots, gunshots, gunshots. He has to sleep with my sister. More gunshots, zombie noises. It's basically a tape saying that Jill Redfield has to sleep with Leon Kennedy.
Fun.
It's a complete joke thing that someone did because of just how convoluted it is that Chris would give his blessing to this random guy in the second game to sleep with his sister.
Oh.
It's not canon. It's just something really stupid, and it reminded me of that.
So like, I hate how a lot of the Radmeter podcasts end up devolving to me trying in vain to explain the complicated lore of either Project Horizons, one of the other fics, my own fic. I really should stop. But people keep asking.
Well, here's the problem with Project Horizon.
People who
you
haven't.
need to explain it. I know my Fallout lore, and I can use it to fix problems in Fallout Equestria lore. But Project Horizons was made by a person who never played the game. I've said this on like AMY's podcast many years ago. Sombra needed someone who understood the game to come down, sit them down, and just beat them up for a couple of hours to explain to them what they were doing wrong.
Sombers slowly devolved from simple Fallout Equestria to like a lot of Lovecraftian body horror, Eldritch Abomination,
which is fair.
Stuff.
Fallout's always had its Lovecraftian side to it, never to the extent of what Bethesda did in their horrible attempts to add literal gods to the Fallout universe, with things like the Dunwich operations. But there were always little things like ghosts and zombies.
Ghouls.
Like zombies separate from ghouls here. I'm talking actual zombies. But you always get like... There were lots of strange things in Fallout. I'll say that. But there were never Eldritch Abominations.
Yeah, it's I don't know.
I'm
under the
Blackjack. Great character. The hero who always fails.
She fails upwards.
And that,
basically, she fails upwards.
That's why I say that the rape on the boat, when Blackjack is basically killed, would have been the perfect ending. It's victory without achieving victory.
Yeah, and especially because she
Duct
dies.
tape gets
She
away.
dies. She's dies or is presumed dead at least a total of like 4 times. I think 3 times within the story, and then the 4th time right at the end where it's revealed in the 200-year time skip that she did survive in one way or another. She dies 4 times and comes back.
And that's probably got to do with her cutie mark. Many people say it's like the... What do people say it is?
Okay,
Good luck.
So basically, no.
Because what I know it's victory at any cost.
It's a winning hand, but basically, everybody, including Blackjack, misinterprets her cutie mark. I think the entire story, a lot of especially like Cognitum and Dawn, or I think they saw it as being like victory. Like, it literally means that you have this cutie mark, you will win, kind of thing.
Well, it kind of is. It's victory at any cost.
Because yeah,
that's why her friend dies. You realize this when the door falls on her friend. That's very convenient, don't you think? That the person who would have won was then killed.
But no. It's basically it became what it really was chance. I think I might be misinterpreting it. It wasn't victory. It was chance, the luck of the draw kind of thing.
No.
Because
what people misunderstand.
Apparently,
every time Blackjack has to do something and has to win, there's a price that is paid. When it's the Blackjack hand, it's the friend. When they have to get out of the the Applejack Ranger ship, it's every single innocent person on that ship drowns. Because they're stuck in power armor, they can't swim, or they get hit by the death laser.
Yeah,
when they're trying to escape the moon...
spell.
Yeah, or when they're trying to escape the moon, they lose Rampage. Isn't that kind of convenient?
Actually, officially, they lost P-21 on the moon. Because Rampage is immortal, they do actually come back for her in the epilogue.
Oh, I forgot about P-21. Yeah, P-21 dies.
They
to get out the first time, and then when they get to the Rampage
the reason why Rampage stays is because it's believed that
she was pulled out of an airlock.
Basically, it's the reason why Rampage stays because she believes that no one should die alone. But also she's hoping that the essentially Megaspell tier Project Horizon's Taint Star Metal Taint Moonstone explosion would actually kill her. But unfortunately, it doesn't, and she's stuck on the moon. And then that was one of the primary reasons for the epilogue is finally, after 200 years, Blackjack, with the help of Little Pip and Boo, who's the new incarnation of Chaos, is able to actually get back to the moon to save Rampage, and also in the process free her from her extended immortality by separating her soul from the Phoenix Talisman and destroying the Phoenix Talisman once and for all.
The Phoenix Talisman was such a good thing until they ruined it. Like, think for a moment the Phoenix Talisman. That could have been really handy in a lot of places.
Yeah, it only cost the sacrifice of unknowable amounts of souls and the a possibility that you'd have basically a split personality where one of the other souls could take over, which kind of sucks when you have the Angel of Death, the Angel of Death serial killer inside you.
Well, I'm talking from a narrative point of view here. Not an actual, usable, functional view.
Oh.
For example, back in the stable when there's the body horror scene of Rampage just being torn apart for food.
Yeah.
More stuff like that would have been great.
Where they would cut out a certain part of her body and then wait for it to regenerate?
Just that sort of the regeneration ability being used more often. There's a great line in the movie Heroes, the TV show Heroes, which is, "I can climb through a wood chipper and live to tell the tale."
Oh,
because it's the immortal girl.
She even mentions that she had a bet with with Psycho Shy that if she survives a wood chipper, then Psycho Shy would be the next through, and Psycho Shy has yet to live up to her end of the bargain.
I can remember about 2 times, I think, when the actual amazing power of the regeneration was brought up or used. The first time is in the stable, and the second time is when Rampage tried to kill herself with the lasers across the bridge.
Oh no! Because one of what they found out is the way to, if the Angel of Death took over, which is a certain personality within Rampage, that was the soul of a ministry of Peace nurse who thought that it was giving foals and such mercy by killing them so they wouldn't have to live through the war. She so certifiably insane, and apparently a victim / test subject for the soul talisman that became the Phoenix Talisman. They found that if they kill Rampage, or basically as far as you can get with killing her, that it'll reset essentially and allow the Rampage personality to actually be there. And sometimes that would mean shooting a shotgun into her brain until she stops moving. Other times it means bashing her head against a railing until she stops moving. Or the simplest and easiest, and it became a comical joke eventually, was her getting vaporized by a magical energy weapon and reforming as basically a filly.
Yeah.
But then
another interesting thing about the talisman is how it was not affected by magical energy weapons.
Well, because she'll be vaporized and then the dust will reform into a filly Rampage because that was the template. Because she got the Phoenix Talisman when she was a filly. Spoiler alert! This whole podcast is spoiler alerts. I mean, at this point,
this is spoiler alert. Was it a 10-year-old book?
Yeah, at this point, how old is the fic? But a lot of people haven't gone through it. I've gone through it 2-3 times because I just listened to the audiobook multiple times and such. I have to know this stuff.
Well, I have a good memory, and like I said, I'm more of the Fallout side of this, while you guys are the Equestria.
Yep, and so I just hate how a lot of these podcasts end up with me spending hours just going over the lore of Fallout Equestria or Project Horizons or one of the other ones. I hate that because isn't the whole point of the Storyteller series to tell this shit? Because if people are going to just go through the podcast and get the lore, why would they watch the Storyteller?
Well, the Storyteller is the fully realized ideals. This is the mad ramblings. This is where you can talk about the stuff unabridged.
Valid point. When I wrote the Little Pip episode, I mentioned several times, I had to split it into 2 episodes because it was just so long. Blackjack will probably be 4 episodes, with how long her story was. But basically, I mentioned several times during that episode of The Storyteller, spoiler alert for Storyteller, I guess, that, like, I mentioned, like, you could always read the book if you want more details, like... kind of became a running gag of the episode is that, okay, summarize, don't tell individual information, like summarize the story, don't be so long-winded, Storyteller.
Leave the long-winded stuff for me. I have a boring and monotone enough voice to do it.
Yeah, well, I'm out of things to talk about, so unless you have something else you want to bring up, I need to get some water.
I can rant about the Enclave for hours.
Ooh, yay, Enclave. That's a fun topic. Oh, have you actually gone over all of the episodes yet to confirm that they canonically match up?
All the ones you sent me, yep, I have.
Have I sent you every single episode?
I forget which one was the last one you sent me. I can take a look.
Because
I've seen you've been saying some other ones to other people.
Well, because Cinder Script was taking over as script editor, and she... also is a huge Fallout lore buff, so it kind of was redundant to have you go over it and her go over it, but she's been quite busy, so I might have you go over a few more.
Okay.
Because I have written all currently planned 27 episodes. It was originally 20, then it somehow became 26, and splitting Little Pip into 2 episodes made it like 27 episodes, which... it's going to take us years to get through unless I find some way to speed up production. So if anyone is listening to this podcast...
Okay, the last one you sent me is the Stable Tech episode.
Ah, okay, well, I have a bunch of episodes to send you, I guess.
Yep, but still, the Enclave. DCP's unabridged version of what it's like to be an Enclave fan in a world where Bethesda thinks they're Nazis. To understand the Enclave, you have to understand the ideals the Enclave stood for, which were very genocidal, but at the same time very, I want to say, pragmatic. And this brings us back to pre-war Enclave, back when it was a shadow government. The original plan...
Oh, this is... Okay, so you're talking Fallout, not Fallout Equestria Enclave.
Yeah, Fallout. The original plan of the Enclave was to get off Earth. There were plans in place to evacuate evacuate the United States to another colonizable planet in the solar system, using the last resources America had available. However, there is one problem. What's the best way to transport large numbers of people in a small, confined, and very routinely needed maintenance-based space?
I don't know.
Vaults. The point of the Vault-Tec projects was to prepare people for interstellar travel.
That's part of that's a part of the lore that I was unaware of. Not even the Shoddycast Storyteller told about that part.
Shoddycast are a bunch of fucking idiots.
Well,
but that was the original point of the Enclave. Enclave's Vault-Tec ideas. Every single experiment was meant to simulate a different potential scenario that you would experience during long-distance interplanetary travel. That's why Vault 13 has water chips that break down. This is why Vault 101 spent 100 years in complete isolation. This is why Vault 8 got there perfectly fine but was very xenophobic. This is why places like, I forget the vault number, Vault 12 I believe it was, had a door that didn't shut properly. This is why Vault 15 was designed to have multicultural inhabitants inside the vault so they could get along.
Explain the Gary Vault, Vault 106 I think, or 108.
To compile an entire vault built of nothing but symbiotic clones.
Okay, the hallucinogenic vault?
The idea of experiencing problems with filtration.
112.
112.
That was the one that had the simulation. Stanislav Braun.
People in a cryogenic stasis while using computer simulations to project a continued existence.
Okay, the one that all the Capital Wasteland super mutants came from.
To test the effects of FEV in a post-war scenario, that one was probably just more military testing, in all honesty. And that's also a Bethesda one, which also helps fuck up the lore because that's after Interplace time.
True.
Which brings us into the
a
nasty
lot,
point.
A lot of the ones that I just mentioned to you were a lot of Bethesda ones.
And I'm still trying to justify a lot of them. For example, Vault 21 is simply just a gambling vault that was designed for Las Vegas. It was most likely just going to be a test vault. You've got the Cryostasis Vault in 101, not 101, 111. Then you've got Vault 72, which I believe was the drug one.
They killed off all the parents and tried to genetically breed the kids into like the smartest and the strongest, but the kids revolted.
Yeah, that definitely seems just like social experiment. We don't understand Voltec. But back onto what happens to the Enclave. The Enclave evacuates to the Yorberg a couple of days before the Great War hits. And then the project site gets nuked. So then the Enclave's like, okay, the project site's been nuked, but good news, we've still got a lot of people inside these vaults. Let's see what happens. Oh, look, here's a vault that's filled with 999 women and 1 man. That vault's kind of failed, okay?
It's 68 and 69.
Reverse vaults. Yeah, that...
68 was 1 man and all woman. No, 69 was 1 man and all woman, and 68 I think was 1 woman, all men.
Yes. Then the other vaults failed. Oh, the vault where we tested out what would happen if violent predator animals escaped their enclosures on a rocket ship has killed everyone. Okay, that was a mistake. Well, let's see.
How about the one where they had to kill someone off every single year, otherwise the vault would not work?
That was to test people's moral judgment. That was a vault based around the idea that would you kill someone to save yourselves?
Okay, how about the one that had the spore people in it?
That one was designed to test the advancements of biological plant agents on a spaceship.
However,
the spores got out of
Big
control
Mountain
and mutated.
The malfunctioning Big Mountain Research Station X-22 biolab
samples got out of control, yes, because Big Mountain is a very silly place. Very fun but silly place.
Yeah, I finally actually completed the whole X-22 secondary mission. I had never done it before. I got the original holotape of the personality from X-22, but I never did the second part where you had to get like the upgrades. I finally finished that one, and I gotta say it was definitely interesting to it gave more context to the whole epilogue with the food dehydrator or whatever, explaining how the X-22 lab already had a ongoing relationship with the vault. It was kind of like connections.
Yes. It's good when people make that, unlike Bethesda. Now, leading into the events of Fallout 2, you experience the Enclave in a state of utter panic. Mariposa has gone up in smoke. The West Tex research station has gone up in smoke. The test vault they built under a cathedral has nuked itself for some unknown reason. And when they go digging, what do they find? Giant green men. And ooze everywhere. After they shoot the giant green men and enslave the rest, they discover that any scientist not in an environmental suit, thanks to one Private Frank Horrigan, who I'm sure we all know, turns into another one of these giant green men, but slightly stupider. These are the Generation 2 super mutants. So what happens?
Because if a super mutant is made from a genetically pure human, they're actually kind of smart. But if they're made with a corrupted by radiation human, they become kind of stupid, right?
It depends, but that's basically the idea. Depending on how the purer the human, the better the mutant. But at the same time, you can get results based on baseline intelligence. It's kind of like if we were to dip me in it, you'll just get a pretty basic super mutant. But if we were to dump someone like Intelligent Person 822, you might get someone like the Lieutenant. But the Enclave goes, oh shit, what are we going to do? There are plenty of safe humans, but they're probably all infected with radiation. So the Richardson, the current not prime minister, you guys have a president, and president goes, hey, let's use this FEV we found to create a super virus to kill off everyone in America, except the people in the vaults, because they'll still be safe. Oh look, here's a vault, Vault 13. Let's take all those civilians and put them onto the oil rig to do some testing. Hey look, here's a city called Arroyo. Let's take all of the tribals and put them onto the ship for testing. Then the Chosen One shows up and the base gets nuked. And then you're left with a situation. There's something before that. Maripo, the Enclave oil rig is destroyed, but there is still the Navarro refueling station, multiple Enclave small outposts, and heaps of patrols currently going around California. What do you think happens then? Your main structure's destroyed, and suddenly out of the dirt rises people dressed in pre-war military army uniforms with a two-headed bear on their suits, and another group of really crazy individuals come out of bunkers that you've attacked a couple of times with your big mutant friend, all bearing the mark of the Brotherhood of Steel. You get the first Enclave NCR Brotherhood War. That lasts a good few years and establishes the state of Maxon. The last activities known there are the holding of Navarro, in which the Enclave was slaughtered to the last man. The only known survivors are a group of Enclave vertibird assault units and the son of a captain. That being Arcana from Fallout New Vegas. Which, despite lore and what everyone says, is not the inspiration for Calamity. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Arcana is not officially a member of the Enclave military. He was a child during the events of the Navarro raid.
Arcade
which
Ganon?
would mean, yes, Arcane Ganon. Which would mean Arcane is not effectively a listed soldier. He would not be at the legal age of 18 to be recruited into the Enclave army. The person Calamity is based off of is the captain, a ship captain who drives you across to the oil rig, who is a former Enclave sergeant who defected after being ordered to shoot civilians, has detailed knowledge of the Enclave, and goes by a really stupid name, the Captain. Sound familiar?
Okay, I guess, but in canon, Calamity's name actually is Calamity, because ponies have noun-based names. So a pony named Captain wouldn't necessarily be out of the ordinary.
You get the idea, though. The Captain's a much closer representation of what Calamity's character is.
Yeah.
But anyway, back onto the Enclave. During all this, you have several situations where things get a bit dicey. One, we know that some Enclave operations went to apparently Boston, thanks to Fallout 4 lore being stupid, due to crashed vertibirds and just the area being scattered with
Hello?
Not T. I'm still here. Sorry, did I cut out for a second?
XO1 armor, you mean?
Nope. Advanced Power Armor Mark 1. XO1 armor is a stupid thing Bethesda created, and the people who did should have been shot. XO1 makes no sense. It is Advanced Power Armor Mark 1 or Advanced Power Armor Mark 2. That's what it was called. It wasn't given the name XO1. There's no secret prototype before the war. The suit was designed on the oil rig. Yeah.
Actually, the Storyteller's armor is actually based off of one of the Enclave-specific power armors. The Storyteller's armor is Tartarus Fire power armor, which is basically modeled after the Hellfire power armor.
Yeah. So then you have a couple of other scenarios. Most of the forces of the Enclave then split up into two groups. This we're entering into Fallout 3 lore.
So
we're entering the Bethesda era.
Raven Rock and
Most of the forces head to Raven Rock. However, we know that some other units went to several other places, including Chicago, Texas, and somewhere in Florida.
Can I just say that Fallout Florida would be a really interesting location?
It was going to be the basis for Fallout Tactics 2, but the game was cancelled.
Ah, fun.
There was going to be an alligator. You know those alligators from Fallout 4?
They're a cross between a death claw and an alligator.
Yep. Imagine those, but with miniguns, and they haunted the swamps of Florida.
Are you sure you're talking about a theoretical thing? This is Florida we're talking about.
These were going to be FEV infected mutants.
No, I'm just saying, are you sure you're not just like talking about what actually happens in Florida? There's some crazy things there.
Well, it was meant to be a funnier game. Anyway,
I'm kidding.
then we get
obviously
to the
there are
events.
not mutant crocodiles with miniguns in Florida, as far as I know.
Then we get to the events of Fallout 3, where the Enclave suddenly get hit with the Nazi stick. And they go from being an organization of people who want to save the wasteland into let's just kill everyone because we're Nazis now. You know the strange thing about Colonel Autumn?
Yeah.
He was a decent fucking man. Like, you see what President Eden says. He goes, you have to kill everyone. Insert the virus. Just insert it. It's killable. Autumn had all the chances in the world to insert the virus into Project Purity all the time he was there, but he went there asking, hey, we would like to take over this project. We have the manpower and the scientists to help you. Not only that, but he was against most of Eden's ideas. Eden says himself that he can't trust Autumn to do it because Autumn's too soft. Autumn didn't care about killing the mutants of the wasteland. Like, he didn't like ghouls, he didn't like super mutants, but at that point, super mutants in the capital wasteland are stupid. They are beyond even fourth generation super mutants.
Except for Fox. Fox is the only smart one.
Fox is a defect among defects. He's a smart, dumb super mutant. Put Fox up against the Lieutenant or Marcus, and he will get his ass handed to him. He is a stretched amalgamation of worthless FEV rejection.
Fox is my favorite companion because, like, all the other ones in Fallout 3, when I had them with me, they'd end up dying. But Fox just has, like, a stupid amount of HP.
And that's another thing. He should not have that much HP. He is a smart super mutant, yes, but he is a dumb piece of shit. His armor is just a vault suit. Do you know what proper super mutants wore?
Sometimes it's
metal armor.
When I had Fox as a companion, sometimes like I'll just be walking through an area, so a random encounter happens, and they're dead before I even can catch up with Fox.
Well, then you're playing the game pretty badly if you can't even destroy a random encounter.
No, I'm not saying I wouldn't be able to destroy it, but like he'll get to it before I did and wipe them out before I even get a chance.
So is it the Boone effect?
What?
Is it the Boone effect? You were just walking around and then suddenly, boom! Your cinematic kill shot goes off because Boone snipes something halfway across the map.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But
still,
in New Vegas, the companions would just pass out if they got 0 hit points. But
not if you're playing on hardcore mode.
True. But the idea of immortal teleporting companions is definitely a better game mechanic because you get kind of attached to some of those companions sometimes, and to have them just...
That's because, unlike in Fallout 3, they had this thing called character. For example, do you know who Cassidy is the daughter of?
No.
A character from Fallout 2. Whose name escapes me off the top of my head, but if I give myself enough time, I will remember them. John Cassidy?
I don't know. But basically,
Cassidy?
like,
I'm gonna go with John Cassidy for now.
Okay.
But that's something you don't really get to see. Like, back to my argument about the Capital Wasteland. Explain to me how in 200 years the Capital Wasteland has not improved.
I don't know. Still radiated?
It's not that badly irradiated. Sure, they've got a minor mutant infection, but that's easily dealt with by just not being idiots and building better defenses. Look at it like this. The west coast of America suffered terribly. It had to deal with the Master's army. It had to deal with the Enclave. It had to deal with 3 of the most dangerous raider tribes Fallout has ever seen. The Jackals, the Vipers, the Khans. Yeah, even the Khan. Fuck, the Khans are the 3rd tribe. Never mind. The 3 raider tribes. They had to deal with the 3 families in... Not the 3 families, sorry. They had to do with the mob families. They had to do with hub corruption. And somehow the NCR got formed. By 2277, when Fallout 3 takes place, do you know what the NCR had?
What?
Working trains. They had working trains,
Yeah,
and to a minor extent,
they had the monorail and other working trains. Yeah.
no, they have proper working trains. Do you know what they're mining at Quarry Junction?
What?
Concrete to build the rail lines.
Hmm.
You know I-43 that you get to nuke if you choose one of the options in Lonesome Road?
Yeah.
That was part of the rail line network. Or it was going to be until you nuked it. Inside there, you see there are military vehicles. You see there are vertibirds. These are the vertibirds are
wait,
obviously
are you talking about
dead from the
the
Enclave.
area where like where you like it has those two giant statues?
Yes.
Okay.
There's an option in Lonesome Road where if you set
I
off a
know.
nuke, you can nuke.
I've gotten the false ending of that's a reference to Planet of the Apes. I've played it.
Yep. Well, the NCR is so far advanced that they've somehow managed to rebuild basically pre-war America. Or at least pre-war America up to about our time. They have working computers, they have robots up and running. Put it like this, the NCR was so powerful they could fend off the Brotherhood of Steel. Name me one group in the Capital Wasteland, apart from the super mutants, who cheat by being AI mob enemies, who could hold off the Brotherhood of Steel. Any of the settlements. Big Town, the Republic of Dave, Megaton, Tenpenny Tower. Maybe even... What's that stupid ship called again? Rivet City.
Rivet City?
Can you think of any of these that could have opposed the Brotherhood?
No, yet apparently you can go against the Brotherhood as like the Minutemen or something in Fallout 4.
To be fair though, that's a single reconnaissance force on board an airship. I'm talking about a Brotherhood chapter.
That part of the mission, if you're going against them, part of the mission involves you destroying that airship. So I mean,
In Fallout Tactics, they have fleets of airships. I should get you the trailer, like the intro to Fallout Tactics, just to show you how badass it is. But
I've
chapter,
probably seen it. I know the basic plot of Fallout 1, 2 Tactics. I just have never played them because again, I'm a Mac and they're PC only games. So
get Linux. That's what I'm saying.
Isn't Mac technically like Unix or something like that?
No, Linux is Linux.
No. Isn't Mac technically like Unix or something like that?
I'm not sure you're a Mac user. I don't give a shit.
Okay,
But my point still is. But here's the thing: the Brotherhood in Fallout 4 aren't Brotherhood at full strength. That's just a small airship of maybe like 50 dudes. They should have about, looking at the size of that airship, they should be able to hold about 4 vertibirds, not including ones they're bringing in from the Capital Wasteland, because Boston isn't that far from the capital, isn't it?
Hmm.
It's within flying distance at least, if you're using the airship to refuel. On board, they look like they can hold about 7 or 8 suits of power armor in those repair stations. The bunks upstairs look like they can hold about 20 crew, plus auxiliary crew that they can hold downstairs in the airport. That's about maybe a subpar of a chapter. At best, maybe about 50 people.
I like how all the there's the connections to Fallout 3. Like you have the Elder Maxon was a squire in Fallout 3. The doctor from Project Purity goes to work for the Institute. McCready is the former mayor of Little Lamplight.
And somehow they managed to make them all suck.
I just like when I found out when I finally the first time I played Fallout 4 and I got McCready's backstory, I'm like, you mungo, because that's what they call the the adults in Little Lamplight. They call them mungos. I'm like,
yes, I know.
like it's you, the little shit that wouldn't let me into Little Lamplight.
You must have been playing the game pretty unoptimized if you can get into Lamplight.
Oh no. I'm not saying I couldn't get into Lamplight. It's just like Mayor McCready is one of the most annoying kids in Little Lamplight. But Bethesda made it so you can't kill kids in Fallout because they have morals, I guess. Not that I would go around killing all the kids in Fallout, but I mean, I remember apparently in Fallout 1 and 2, you could actually kill anybody.
Oh yeah, you could.
But in Fallout
Fun
3,
with
in
grenades.
Fallout 3 and like in New Vegas and even Fallout 4, there's actually like an essential NPCs that if you shoot them, they'll, much like a companion, kind of pass out and then wake back up a few minutes later.
It's a stupid system, honestly.
Apparently, if you wanted to, when you first meet Preston Garvey, the most annoying companion in the entire Fallout 4, you can just start shooting him and he'll become hostile, but he won't die because he's apparently essential to the story.
Technically, Codsworth is the first companion you can meet,
True.
who appears in the prologue.
But oftentimes you have to pick up Cogsworth after heading to Concord, unless you decide to not go to Concord. But I don't like how they make you like I was watching a video about how like it was illustrating how linear Fallout 4 is compared to Fallout New Vegas, where like in Fallout New Vegas, right off the bat you can back Good Springs or you can back the Powder Gangers, and whichever one you choose leads to different branching options. But in Fallout 4, you're forced to side with the Minutemen. I was watching a video that said, wouldn't it be interesting had you walk into Concord, no one's directly hostile to you, and you have a choice to back the Raiders or to back the Minutemen. And then if you
Here's the thing. Here's the critical thing you're missing here. That would require the company to be good at storytelling.
Valid point. I'm just saying that, like, this person went on to describe how, like, if you chose the Raiders, you would then go and you would join the Raiders in an assault on the museum, killing off the last remaining Minutemen, automatically giving you a bit of a hostile reputation in the Commonwealth, and then you would join the Raider faction and maybe start doing some faction missions with the Raiders to the point where you would actually stage a coup against the current leader of that Raider faction, and you'd then become the leader of the Raider faction, and you could and then much like what Nuka World allowed you to do, you could go and take over settlements, including Diamond City, where it would block off any of the missions to make the radio DJ Travis more confident, and it would if you listen to the radio, he would be giving you talking your character up, like, our overlord of the Commonwealth did this and that and the other thing, and then maybe occasionally he would try to convince somebody to help, petitioning the Brotherhood of Steel or the Institute, please just help, or something like that. And it was a very interesting thought experiment where, if Fallout 4 had been made by a creative company where you can actually be a raider without having to download the Nuka World DLC. And even then, being a raider as part of the Nuka World DLC, all it really does is it makes Preston Garvey no longer want to be your companion, and I mean, that's a net benefit in my eyes, so...
That's the best world.
What?
Yeah, but I always remember Brotherhood, because there's no Enclave option. There's never an Enclave option. There should be an Enclave option.
Well, apparently, Confessor Cromwell from the Far Harbor DLC is former Enclave.
Yeah. There's a difference between being part of the Enclave and former
Enclave. Did I say
Enclave.
Professor? I meant Confessor or something. Cromwell, the leader of the Children of Adam faction in Far Harbor, is former Enclave. But
Far Harbor is the only DLC I ever, because it was that point that I was just sick of Fallout.
I've been trying to find a way to mention it since we started talking about Fallout and Fallout the games, and stuff. But I'm not on speaking terms with Fallout 4. And it's kind of weird to say that about a video game, but like I actually traded in my copy. I no longer have it. I just got so pissed at how Bethesda decided to deal with the Creation Club mods. My game, my game kept crashing. Like I had like 1 or 2 mods. I wanted to do the whole Captain Andromeda DLC mod from the Creation Club because I was big into collecting power armor and other outfits, and I wanted to have the specialty character outfit and armor mods from that like DLC or whatever. I download it and my game starts like crashing. So I had no other mods in the game. I was using base game plus Creation Club mods. So I basically looked online, why does my game keep crashing? And it recommended, uninstall your mods. They're probably causing an issue. Guess what Bethesda forgot to include? An uninstall Creation Club mod option. You can't uninstall any Creation Club mods unless you uninstall the entire game and reinstall it. I'm like, fuck it. If I have to uninstall this game just to get rid of the mods, I'm not reinstalling it.
Yeah. It's a terrible game. I remember this like I fit Valkyria Chronicles 4 into my PS4.
It's like, I Fallout 4, I enjoyed Fallout 4. I can see why people didn't like Fallout 4 and how it breaks a lot of the canon and all that kind of stuff, but it was still a moderately enjoyable game. I played through it as, I think, as a Brotherhood of Steel, thinking I'd get a bunch of power armor, but actually you get more power armor going against the BOS. So a second time, I think I went with the Railroad. And then I was gonna play it again where I would go as the Institute and get the evil ending more or less. But then this BS happened where the game was like crashing because of a paid mod that I couldn't uninstall without uninstalling the entire fucking game.
It's terrible. It honestly is a terrible system, and that's why I've taken up war painting.
And that is why my new favorite franchise of all time is now Borderlands, because they can actually, make a decent game. It might take 7 years, but they'll make a decent game.
They'll also kill an entire other game to do it, don't forget.
True, there's controversies regarding the company and another game, and even the leader of the company is kind of a controversial figure with a lot of scandals and all that kind of stuff. But I separate the game
itself. Well, it's less a controversy and a known fact that they siphoned money from Aliens Colonial Marine to make Borderlands.
I mean, yeah. I'm separating the practices of the company from the game itself. The game is decent. It was worked on by a lot of talented people who aren't the people who are getting into all these scandals, who aren't the people who were siphoning money. The developer, the actual the programmers, the not minimum wage, but the programmers that are the lower tier that you don't really know the names of unless you actually read through the end credits. Those people made a great game. The company could probably have better practices, like not having an exclusivity deal on the shitty Epic Games launcher.
Yep, but I can do you one better than Fallout 4 and recommend you many games that have the post-apocalyptic feel that you might enjoy.
Outer Worlds is great. Outer Worlds is the spiritual successor to New Vegas. It actually makes subtle references to New Vegas if you actually look for them.
Well, no spoilers for that because I'm still waiting for it to come out next year.
You haven't played Outer Worlds? Oh, is it not released in Australia?
It's not out till next year.
In Australia, because it's came out in the United States.
Around the world.
Wow, it's not in the United States yet? It's not in Australia yet?
No, it's in Australia. I'm just waiting for it to come out next year.
Why?
Because then it'll be on Steam. Oh. And then like a normal person, I can play it and not have spyware from China on my computer.
Oh, okay, yeah, because they had another stupid exclusivity deal with Epic Games, right?
Yes. But I will now list off a couple of my favorite non-Fallout post-apocalyptic games that you can play on Steam right now that are actually good.
Okay.
Number 1,
Hashtag not
Wasteland
sponsored.
2.
Sorry. Hashtag not sponsored.
Yep. Number 1, Wasteland 2, Standard Edition or Director's Cut Edition. I recommend Director's Cut Edition. This is a brilliant sequel and a well-known sequel to the Wasteland game. A brilliant take on the post-apocalyptic world of the Rangers. If you've never played it, it's a great time to pick it up because it should be on sale. Number 2, Atomic RPG. This is a game made by a couple of Russian fellows for a Russian price tag set in Russia. Think Metro, but with Fallout. It's isometric, it's fun, and it's got some great challenge to it if you're willing to spend the time and learn the game. Number 3, Atomic Society. Nothing says this is a great pre-alpha game than the game that works, is kind of fun, and you have to lead your survivors in a very dangerous scenario. Do you want to build life after the vaults? Play this game. Then we have number 4, or number 5, Metro. Nothing says you want to play a fun game like playing Metro. Metro's so good. And that's my list for the current time. I need to find more, but as I find more, I'll tell people about them. Still, buy Atomic RPG. It is great.
Okie dokie. Well, I'm out of things to talk about. I mean, we could talk about Fallout and other video games for another hour if we really wanted to, but we've already been going for 2 hours, almost 3 hours.
I could last an hour.
Almost 3 hours. I really forgot. I forgot to grab something to like drink. My voice is getting a little hoarse. Pun very much.
Well, I don't know if my voice is hoarse yet.
Pun very much intended because my ponies are little horses. So I'm surprised that I had decent enough. I'm surprised I had decent enough internet to run this. The room that I'm currently in my house has really bad internet, and though we've been on yellow as far as stream health has been for the entire time, the people who were watching said we were coming through clear. Well, then again, that was you and Cloud, and also the Rift City for some reason popped in for a few minutes. But thank you to all who came for our haphazard train wreck of a podcast that we're going to try to maybe do once a month, where we meant to do that and then we kind of skipped a couple months because of computer issues, but hopefully we're going to come back. The people at Dead Tree Studios said they would try to show up, but I guess they missed it this time. Maybe they'll be on next time, or at least be in the chat next time. I thought I gave plenty. When I got home at 7 a.m. this morning, or closer to 8 actually, I made a post saying, "Reminder, this is happening today," and then went to sleep for 5 hours, which is not enough sleep, but sleep is for the weak.
It's always sleep.
Sleep is for the weak.
I've been up all night painting, mainly.
Just probably go to sleep.
I should, but it's 8 a.m. and I've got work in 2 hours.
Okay, well, I'm gonna end the podcast. Links in the description to our Patreon for Nuclear Horseman Studios, as well as our public Discord, which is different than our production/Patreon Discord, but you do get a special role in the public Discord if you are a Patreon supporter. So, yeah, this is a...
Buy our stuff. I don't get paid unless we reach $100, so buy our stuff.
No one's really getting paid, to be fair. Not even me.
No one is getting paid, but I will one day get paid for this.
Hopefully.